Chapter 99. One Man and One Eagle. Qin Yu and Xiao He fly towards the south extremely fast. Below them, cities, mountains, grasslands and lakes are passed one by one. Suddenly, a huge forest appears in front of them. Xiao He, come down with me. Qin Yu suddenly says through his holy sense. Xiao He immediately stops flying and asks doubtfully. Big brother, now we should not be far from the sea area in the south of the Qianlong continent. Why don't you continue to fly? Why do you want to enter this forest instead? Xiao He can't figure it out. Haha, you don't know this. Qin Yu explains with a smile on his face. Do you know how far the overseas immortal islands are from the Qianlong continent? I don't know, but it should be very far. Xiao He looks doubtfully at Qin Yu. He doesn't know how far the overseas immortal islands are from the Qianlong continent, and what does it have to do with Qin Yu entering the forest? Qin Yu says with a smile. Let me tell you, the nearest overseas immortal islands are hundreds of thousands of li away, and the Punglai immortal region is hundreds of millions of li away. The vastness of this sea area is simply beyond your imagination. It's so far away. If we keep flying on the sea, it'll be too boring. Big brother, what do you mean? Xiao He suddenly understands a little. Let's get a big ship and put it in the interspatial ring. When we're bored while drifting on the sea, we'll take out the big ship. We'll fish on the ship or bask in the sun and enjoy the sea breeze. Isn't it tiring to fly all the time? Qin Yu is ready to drift for a long time. Xiationists have almost unlimited years, so they don't care about time. Drifting on the sea and adventuring is also a kind of practice. Xiao He immediately becomes excited. Okay, this forest is so big. There must be very big trees. Let's quickly go find them. After saying so, Xiao He dives down and enters the boundless forest without waiting for Qin Yu. Qin Yu smiled and swooped down. After entering this huge forest, Qin Yu and Xiao He discover that there are basically no traces of humans in this huge forest. Those overgrown weeds, trees, vines, and so on show that this forest is an extremely primeval forest. Xiao He and Qin Yu shuttled back and forth at an extremely fast speed. One man and one eagle did not care about those so-called ferocious beasts. They only needed to release a little bit of their aura, and those ferocious beasts did not dare to approach. There's a very thick metasequoia tree over there, Xiao He suddenly said through his spiritual sense. Qin Yu also noticed the metasequoia tree. The metasequoia tree was about 10 meters in diameter, and was considered a relatively thick tree in this forest. Qin Yu sighed and said, what a pity. There were so many giant trees in the untainted land, but we never thought of cutting down one to build a ship. In the untainted land, there had been no traces of humans for millions of years. Those ancient trees were about 70 to 80 meters in diameter, and some even reached 100 meters in diameter, which was extremely shocking. However, after leaving the untainted land, although this forest was also a primeval forest, those ancient trees with a diameter of 100 meters could no longer be seen. Big brother, this forest is within the territory of the three dynasties. Although it's said that there are few traces of humans here, some Xiantian experts can still pass through it alive. Those extremely thick trees are simply treasures. They've been cut down long ago. Xiao He said helplessly. Qin Yu was not reconciled in his heart. Although 10 meters in diameter was not small, it was still too small for Qin Yu's expectations. This forest is also very big. Let's keep shuttling back and forth to see if there are any thicker trees. Qin Yu made his decision. Xiao He did not refute, and continued to fly extremely fast with Qin Yu. One man and one eagle shuttled back and forth, using their spiritual senses to carefully search for any thicker trees. There were only a few Xiationists on the Qianlong continent. It was indeed very rare for Xiationists to use their spiritual senses to search for trees. Qin Yu and Xiao He had already traveled a distance of 100 li. During this distance, the thickest tree that Qin Yu found was only about 20 meters in diameter. Qin Yu and Xiao He continued to search. There was a distance of 700 to 800 li across this forest. For Qin Yu and Xiao He, the distance was not too far. Xiao He, there's a very thick tree 6,000 meters ahead. Qin Yu became excited. Very thick. How thick is it? Xiao He was also surprised. How thick was the tree that could make Qingyu so excited? This forest was not a mountain forest in the untainted land. How thick could the tree be? In just a short while, Qingyu and Xiaohei approached the tree. Wow, what a big wall! Xiaohei said in surprise through his spiritual sense. Qingyu was also very excited. This dark red ancient tree was surrounded by twigs and looked like a rock carving. Obviously, it was very hard. The diameter of this ancient tree was about 50 meters, which made it look like a wall. Although it could not be compared with some ancient trees in the untainted land, it was still very rare outside the untainted land. Well, this is it. It's wide enough. Qingyu nodded with satisfaction. Then a flaming sword flew out of Qingyu's body. The flaming sword emitted a very long illusory silver starry sword light. This starry sword light was more than 10 meters long. Although the ancient tree was very hard, it was still much weaker than the sword light. Qingyu smilingly points with a finger. The flaming sword then makes a slash at the root of the tree. Even though it is 50 m in diameter, it is completely cut apart in just a moment by the stellar sword light. Afterwards, that huge tree falls down with a loud crash, smashing down several tens of other big trees. Swish! 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 The starry sword light cut off the branches easily. This ancient tree was 300 or 400 meters tall, but it was useless for Qingyu. Qingyu directly cut off the thickest 200 meters of the main rod. Then Qingyu began to build the boat carefully. Building a boat was very simple. First of all, the bark was cut off completely, making the main rod slippery. Qingyu had seen a ship before. He cut open the main pole and split it into two. Immediately after, he chose one of the two sides and hollowed out the center to create a 30 m wide and 80 m long space for sleeping and resting. Haha. I just need to set up a defensive restriction formation casually. This boat's defensive power is much stronger than those big boats. Qingyu set up a defensive restriction formation on this huge wooden boat with a smile. Qingyu believed that even in a hurricane, this boat would not fall apart. Xiaohei spat out his spirit artifact Sharp Awl. He used the Sharp Awl to carve a few simple lines on the boat for decoration purposes. Very simply, a seafaring boat was created. Very good. Very good. Xiaohei looked at his carving with satisfaction. Qingyu grabbed the speedily made seafaring boat. With a thought, he stored it into his interspatial ring. Only Qingyu's dreamscape ring was capable of storing such a large boat. As for the storage bracelet, the space within it was simply too small. Xiaohei, let's go. Qingyu laughed loudly as he soared into the sky. Xiaohei followed right behind Qingyu. The man and the hawk had personally built a large boat, and they were very happy. Things that were made by hand and things that were bought were completely different. The man and the hawk immediately sped up. Qingyu stepped on the flaming sword and Xiaohei's speed also increased by several times. Although Qingyu did not use the one with the weapon, and Xiaohei did not use the passing lightning flashes, their speed was still very fast. Half a day later, Qingyu and Xiaohei finally arrived at the southern part of the Qianlong continent. Two streams of light directly landed on the seaside and turned into a man and an hawk. Qingyu and Xiaohei looked at the endless ocean. They could not help but feel happy. The blue ocean was refracted by the sunlight. Some areas were even blue, light purple and other colors. It was really beautiful. Compared to the size of this sea, the Qianlong continent is really nothing. The gap between them is too big. Qingyu looked at the vast ocean and could not help sighing. At first glance, the ocean seems very quiet. But who knows how many undercurrents are surging in the depths of the ocean? How many demonic beasts are there? How many immortal islands and devil islands are there? Xiaohei was also very excited. Wow, Xiaxianists, Xiamoists and all kinds of demonic beasts. Maybe there are also some treasures. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Big brother, don't worry so much. Let's go. After saying that, Xiaohei directly spread his wings and flew towards the endless ocean. Qingyu also smiled. He could not help but feel a kind of heroic spirit in his heart. The endless ocean. This is the world of Xiaxianists. Qingyu also rushed towards the endless ocean like lightning. On the seaside, there was a child playing with shells. He stared blankly at the man and the hawk flying towards the endless ocean. In just a moment, The man and the hawk disappeared from the horizon. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? How can a man fly? And so fast? The child rubbed his eyes, then looked around carefully. The surroundings were still so quiet, as if the man and the hawk had never appeared. Yeah, looks like my eyes really are playing tricks on me. The child smiled, then continued to play with those shells. On this day, Qin Yu, the Qianlong continent's peerless genius, an expert comparable to a late Jin Dan expert at the age of 20, the brother of the emperor of the newly established Qin dynasty, and Prince Yu of the Qin dynasty, left the Qianlong continent. In the past 20 years, Qin Yu helped the Qin clan finally destroy the Xiang clan, unify the Chu dynasty, and establish the Qin dynasty. A Zionist's lifespan is limitless. 20 years is just the blink of an eye. What will happen in the next several decades, several hundred years, several thousand years? In the endless ocean. Haha, this is awesome. Qin Yu was walking on the waves. Waves were surging as he waved his hands. At the moment, Qin Yu was wearing the clothes made by Lei Wei in the past. He was wearing trousers on the lower half of his body, and a sleeveless black undershirt on the upper half of his body. The muscles on the upper half of his body were completely protruding. At the moment, Qin Yu's entire body was full of vitality. He was walking on the waves at will on the ocean, stirring up wind and waves like the god of the sea. Ha! Qin Yu suddenly waved his hands. Huge streams of water unexpectedly started to revolve around Qin Yu's body, just like the streams of air that Qin Yu used to practice the Trans-Heaven 3 diagrams in the past. However, this stream of water was 10 times thicker than the streams of air back then, and the area it revolved around was also 10 times larger. Qin Yu was recklessly venting his energy with the water streams revolving around his body. All of a sudden, Qin Yu reached out with one hand, and a big fish weighing more than 10 jin floated up in the air. It was only by telekinesis, but a big fish was caught by Qin Yu just like that. Xiaohei, prepare to grill the fish, Qin Yu says smilingly to Xiaohei in the sky. He then makes a wave of his hand. Suddenly, a huge object appears on the surface of the ocean. It is none other than a 200 m long and 50 m wide large wooden ship. However, this wooden ship has been set up with defensive spells, so perhaps no ship in the 3 dynasties can compare with it in terms of defensive power. Grilled fish. Wow, this is great. Xiaohei swooped down and directly landed on the deck. Qin Yu also jumped down and directly landed on the deck from the ocean surface. Then he directly walked into the central cabin of the ship. The cabin was 30 meters wide and 80 meters long. It was 10 meters deep. There were many things in the cabin, such as a waterbed, a grill, a fishing rod, and so on. These things were all taken out from Lei Mountain House. In the past, Lei Wei also knew how to enjoy himself when he was drifting in the universe. Of course, there were these things. Qin Yu also put them in the cabin. The grill set up by Master Israeli. Qin Yu was still full of praise. To be precise, this grill should be something similar to the 8 trigrams furnace used to refine spirit tools. It was even more complicated than the 8 trigrams furnace. This was because if one used the star true fire to roast ordinary food, it would definitely turn into ashes. Therefore, there was this special grill. Through various restrictions in the grill, the temperature of the star fire could be adjusted. The temperature was just right. Xiaohei stared at the fish being grilled in the grill with shining eyes and said to Qin Yu, "Big brother, to be honest, the spices on the Qianlong continent are very different from the spices left by your master." Regarding this point, Qin Yu has no choice but to admit that Lei Wei indeed has a lot of ingredients. He even makes and mixes his own ingredients. Many foods would taste much better with those spices. Qi. Oil oozed out of the grilled fish. Xiaohei was almost drooling. However, he had to wait. He had to wait until the temperature was right. All right. Qin Yu directly divided the fish into 2. Qin Yu and Xiaohei each took half of this big fish weighing more than 10 jin. Then they began to eat very happily. Qin Yu and Xiaohei ate such a big fish, but their stomachs did not change at all. Suddenly, pung! The boat shook violently. What's going on? Qin Yu immediately makes a sweep with his holy sense, then bursts out laughing. These sharks unexpectedly want to break through my ship. Too bad, my ship is very hard. Because it has been set up with defensive spells, these sharks cannot break through it. Qin Yu suddenly laughed. But if you hit my boat, you'll have to pay interest. Qin Yu flew out of the cabin like a rock spreading its wings. With a tap of his foot on the deck, he fell into the sea. There were dozens of sharks outside the boat. Qin Yu immediately chose one of the leading sharks, jumped onto the shark, and grabbed its fin. That shark felt that someone was sitting on its body. It immediately began to move wildly, diving into the sea for a while, then jumping up against the waves. Behave yourself. Qin Yu exerted force with his legs, squeezing the shark, causing it to cry out in pain. At the same time, Qin Yu's stellar energy poured into the shark's body. Sensing how powerful Qin Yu was, the shark immediately stopped making trouble. That's more like it. Move forward. Qin Yu sat on the leading shark. The group of sharks followed behind him. Xiaohei also controlled the boat to follow. Under Qin Yu's control, the group of sharks continued to move towards the south. Xiaohei began to catch fish. After all, grilled fish was very delicious. Chapter 100. It had been half a month since they entered the boundless ocean. During this time, Qin Yu sometimes flew on his sword, sometimes walked on the waves, and sometimes rested on the ship. In this half a month, Qin Yu and Xiaohei had only encountered a few islands. These islands were just ordinary uninhabited islands. They were still very far away from the real overseas immortal islands. Xiaohei, why are you learning fishing from me? Isn't it faster if you just go into the sea to catch fish? Qin Yu lay on the deck, wantonly enjoying the sea breeze. Beside him was a fishing rod. A strand of astral energy was connecting Qin Yu's fingers to the fishing rod. As long as there was movement, Qin Yu could easily catch fish. A strand of dark golden energy also flowed out of Xiaohei's body and directly attached to the fishing rod. Xiaohei was actually fishing too. Hearing Qin Yu's question, Xiaohei said via holy sense, "Then how are you fishing, big brother? It's faster to go into the sea to catch fish than to fish." Artistic conception. Fishing is an artistic conception. Artistic conception, do you understand? Qin Yu said with a smile. Xiaohei said via holy sense, artistic conception. Fishing is an artistic conception. Ha, it's so simple. Who doesn't understand this principle? Can't you see that I'm also enjoying the artistic conception? Xiaohei even proudly flapped his wings. Qin Yu was speechless. After a while, what bullsh *t artistic conception? I haven't caught a single fish yet. Xiaohei was impatient. He directly threw the fishing rod into the cabin. Then, with a shake of his wings, he directly pierced into the sea like a sword leaving a bow. After a while, Xiaohei's two sharp claws flew up to the deck with a fish in each hand. Xiaohei said proudly, "Big brother, take your time to enjoy the artistic conception. I'm going to grill the fish." Xiaohei was very smart. After seeing Qin Yu use the grill, he completely understood. He directly went to grill the fish. Qin Yu was helpless. Suddenly the fishing rod shook. Qin Yu hurriedly grabbed the fishing rod. With a hey sound, Qin Yu caught the fish. Haha, what a big fish. The feeling of catching a fish is much more delightful than catching it directly. Qin Yu is in a good mood. He takes the fish down and casually throws it into a large bucket in the cabin that is used especially for putting fish. Xiaohei looked at the fish and then at Qin Yu. Why can't I catch a fish? Xiaohei feels very helpless in his heart. Of course, he will not tell Qin Yu what he is thinking. Instead, he pretends to be disdainful. You just caught a fish. What's there to be proud of? How can you catch up with me? When Qin Yu heard Xiaohei's spiritual sense transmission, he couldn't help but be stunned. Xiaohei, I'm not proud. Are you jealous? Fortunately, he could chat with Xiaohei. Otherwise, Qin Yu could only use cultivation to pass the time. On this day, Qin Yu and Xiaohei had just enjoyed a sumptuous dinner. Then, one man and one eagle prepared to cultivate and rest in the cabin. The sky was dark. The sea in the darkness was terrible. There was almost no light, only the turbulent sea. However, to Qin Yu and Xiaohei, the surging waves of the ocean are not dangerous at all. To them, walking on the waves is very simple. Even traveling through the void was an easy task, let alone these things. The cabin was very quiet. Qin Yu and Xiao He slowly cultivated. Qin Yu's body was surrounded by a faint silver illusory nebula. Xiao He's body surface was covered with lightning. Suddenly, Qin Yu's ears twitched. He immediately opened his eyes and jumped out of the cabin onto the deck. Qin Yu stared at the distant south and couldn't help but be surprised. God, so high and so big. Big brother, what happened? Xiao He also came out of the cabin. Looking to the south, Xiao He was also stunned. He saw that the south's huge waves were hundreds of meters high. They were like thousands of soldiers and horses rushing toward the north. Behind the huge waves was a terrible hurricane. The hurricane's range was very large. At least, Qin Yu could see that there were hurricanes in the south for hundreds of miles. Big brother, do you want to ride the waves for fun? Xiao He said through his holy sense. Qin Yu looked at the huge waves in the distance. He couldn't help but feel his heart beat faster. He said heroically, okay. But let's put away the ship first. With such huge waves, it'll be hard to find the ship if it gets washed away. Qin Yu directly put the ship into his interspatial ring. Oh, it's time to surf. Xiao He's wings shook, and he directly broke through the air. Staying close to the surface of the sea, he charged towards the huge waves. Xiao He's unfolded wings were like chopping knives, directly cutting into the huge waves. It was very wantonly. Xiao He, wait for me. Qin Yu also stepped on the waves, directly charging towards the boundless waves. Wave after wave of huge waves continued to move northward. Finally, they collided with Qin Yu. With a bang, Qin Yu smashed through a huge wave directly. However, the second huge wave was immediately followed by a huge wave. A huge wave over 100 meters high came crashing down. The rumbling sound was deafening. Qin Yu only heard the rumbling sound, but Xiao He's holy sense clearly rang out in Qin Yu's mind. Big brother, you're too slow. Hurry up and come to me. Kid, don't be so arrogant. Qin Yu's entire body sometimes moved like lightning, sometimes like a floating leaf floating on top of the waves, and sometimes like a sea god standing on top of the waves. Qin Yu wantonly played around. After an unknown period of time, Qin Yu and Xiao He moved southward, while the waves moved northward. Qin Yu and Xiao He completely entered the huge waves. However, Qin Yu stared blankly towards the south. Good heavens! Qin Yu finally knew what had caused these huge waves. Although those hurricanes were powerful, they weren't able to shake Qin Yu and Xiao He. However, the source of the hurricanes and the waves was something that Qin Yu found hard to resist. Big brother, what's that? Xiao He flew over to Qin Yu's side. The man and the hawk both looked towards the south. At this moment, several dozen kilometers to the south, the sky was filled with dark clouds that seemed to be sticking to the surface of the sea. Bolts of lightning were constantly striking down, and an enormous whirlpool was constantly rotating. This enormous whirlpool was constantly absorbing the lightning between the heavens and the earth, while also creating an enormous tornado above it. That tornado was so large that it caused hurricanes to spread for hundreds of kilometers. Qin Yu was only a distance away, but he was certain that the spinning power of that tornado was not something that he could resist at all. Big brother, what should we do? Xiao He seemed to be unsure as well. The man and the hawk were standing on the top of the waves, looking at the terrifying whirlpool and tornado in the distance. Qin Yu opened his mouth and said, well, I like excitement, but I don't want to be treated as a toy by this tornado. Once we're sucked into it, we'll definitely get dizzy and get sucked into that whirlpool. That whirlpool definitely won't stop. Then Xiao He looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu gave a smile. Let's go into the water. It's said that the seabed is the territory of demonic beasts. Let's have a good look at it, right? Xiao He naturally had no objection to this. Immediately, the man and the hawk dived into the water. As they went underwater, the water pressure began to slowly increase. Xiao He, you're really awesome. It's said that birds aren't suitable to live underwater, but you seem to be completely unaffected. Qin Yu said through holy sense communication. Xiao He said, Big brother, birds aren't suitable to live underwater. That's just an ordinary bird. Birds that have reached the Jin Dan stage are already zooists, so of course they can go underwater. Moreover, not only am I a Jin Dan stage demonic beast, I'm also not an ordinary one. After Xiao He talked with Qin Yu for a long time, He also knew that he was not an ordinary demonic beast. How can ordinary demonic beasts compare to a demonic beast like him who has overcome the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation and is still unable to take human form, and who also has hereditary memories? Qin Yu and Xiao He both had very strong bodies, so the water pressure had little effect on them. It's really very quiet underwater. Qin Yu and Xiao He dived down to a depth of 1 kilometer in one breath. At the moment, it is very quiet at a depth of 1 kilometer. Various colorful fishes are swimming around. They seem not to be afraid of Qin Yu and Xiao He at all. They swim past Qin Yu and Xiao He. There are also small fishes whose whole bodies are shining. There are many fishes in the sea. Sometimes schools of fishes are densely packed together. However, there are also various other underwater animals here and there. Qin Yu and Xiao He continued to dive down to a depth of 2 kilometers. What a big whale. It should have a lifespan of several hundred years. Qin Yu looks at a huge whale that is over 100 m long swimming in the distance, and cannot help being secretly astonished. However, Xiao He next to Qin Yu suddenly becomes excited. Various electric sparks spread out from Xiao He's body. Qin Yu only feels his body shake. It turns out the electric sparks have spread to Qin Yu's side. Xiao He, what are you doing? Qin Yu looks doubtfully at the moment at Xiao He. Xiao He, however, says excitedly via holy sense communication. Big brother, this whale's life essence is so abundant. There's a way to devour blood in my hereditary memories. 9 electric sparks shoot out from Xiao He's body, attaching themselves to different parts of the huge whale's body. With a shrill cry, the huge whale starts to shrink at an astonishing speed. One stream of blood essence, after another, flows through the 9 electric sparks, and into Xiao He's body. Qin Yu is dumbfounded. In just a short while, the blood essence of a 100 m long whale is completely devoured, leaving only a layer of skin and bones. But after devouring a whale, Xiao He's stomach doesn't change in the slightest. Qin Yu simply can't imagine where the blood essence of a 100 m long whale went. Wow, this feels so good. Refining the blood essence and fusing it with the life essence. After devouring a Xiantian level whale, the life essence is no less than that of an ordinary Jin Dan level demonic beast. Xiao He praises. Qin Yu is speechless. Xiao He, how can you fit such a huge whale into your stomach? Qin Yu looks at Xiao He. Xiao He says, Big brother, I didn't eat it. I just swallowed its blood essence and refined its life essence. But swallowing blood essence and refining life essence is a consummate skill. According to my hereditary memories, there aren't many demonic beasts that can swallow blood essence like me. Qin Yu is speechless. What do you mean not many demonic beasts can do? The Xiuzhen secret books that Qin Yu has read all talk about demonic beasts. They only talk about demonic beasts being able to swallow Jin Dan Yuanying, but never about them being able to swallow blood essence. Big brother, do you want to learn? If you want to learn, I can teach you. Xiao He says to Qin Yu. Qin Yu is startled. Haha, I'm just kidding. My method of swallowing blood essence is only suitable for myself. I can only use my dark lightning. Xiao He says through his holy sense. Swallowing the blood essence of other demonic beasts is not something that ordinary demonic beasts can do. Only some special demonic beasts would have such a unique skill. For example, the divine beast Hongwan doesn't have such a unique skill. But this doesn't mean that Xiao He is more powerful than Hongwan. For example, although the red blood python isn't a divine beast, it can still swallow blood essence. Having such a unique skill can only mean that Xiao He is special. Well, let's continue diving. We haven't found any powerful demonic beasts yet. Qin Yu says with a smile. Then Qin Yu and Xiao He continue diving. On the way down, Xiao He swallows 3 huge pieces of meat in one breath. After swallowing 3, Xiao He doesn't swallow any more. This is already his limit. He has to go back and digest it properly. After diving down 3 to 4 kilometers, Qin Yu finally finds the first Jin Dan stage demonic beast. It is a cyan-shelled turtle. When the cyan-shelled turtle sees Qin Yu and Xiao He, it seems to be frightened. It immediately turns into its human form and slips away. Qin Yu and Xiao He stares dumbfoundedly at the cyan-shelled turtle slipping away. Big brother, what's going on? Why did it slip away? We haven't killed it yet. Xiaohei is puzzled. Just a moment ago, he was talking to the turtle through his spiritual sense, in a friendly manner. Qingyu also shakes his head. Qingyu and Xiaohei dives to a depth of nearly 5 kilometers. At this depth, there are more demonic beasts. Sometimes they see a demonic beast pass by. However, the weaker demonic beasts notice Xiaohei and Qingyu, and immediately slip away. The strangest thing is that the weaker demonic beasts don't run away when they encounter other stronger demonic beasts. It seems the weaker demonic beasts are afraid of Qingyu and Xiaohei. Strange, very strange. Hee, I don't know where these two guys came from. It seems that they don't know the rules at all. I bet they won't live for more than half a day. A late-stage Jin Dan demonic beast says to another demonic beast in the distance. At this moment, these two demonic beasts have turned into human form. The two demonic beasts don't avoid Qingyu and Xiaohei. Their spiritual sense transmissions even resound in the minds of Qingyu and Xiaohei. Half a day. 2 outsiders, I bet they will die in an hour. Another humanoid demonic beast says disdainfully. Qingyu and Xiaohei look at each other, but they feel a wave of unfamiliarity. What is going on? Everyone else scram. These two guys are mine. Suddenly, a huge spiritual sense covers the surrounding area. The spiritual sense transmissions resound in the minds of all the demonic beasts, including Qingyu and Xiaohei. The several humanoid demonic beasts immediately retreat. Not good. Qingyu's spiritual sense realizes that something is wrong, but it is too late. In just a moment, more than 10 huge green octopuses surround them from all directions. Qingyu and Xiaohei have no place to escape. These green octopuses have already reached the Jin Dan stage. Haha! The sound from before resounds again, and a huge red octopus appears. This octopus is 4 to 5 times larger than the other octopuses. Its aura is also much more terrifying. Its 8 tentacles are like a flood dragon, very frightening. Qingyu and Xiaohei's faces immediately change. The huge red octopus stares at Qingyu and Xiaohei with burning eyes. Its eyes are flickering with greed. Chapter 101. Qingyu and Xiaohei's expressions became very unsightly. At this moment, there were a total of 16 green octopuses surrounding Qingyu and Xiaohei. Among them, 12 green octopuses formed a formation. Streams of demonic elemental energy were like an inescapable net, completely surrounding Qingyu and Xiaohei in the center. 12 gates inescapable net formation. Qingyu's heart turned cold. The 12 gates inescapable net formation was not a profound formation, but it was set up by 12 Jin Dan stage octopuses. The octopuses themselves were very large, and generally had a lot of demonic elemental energy. Although they were all Jin Dan stage, they were much more powerful than ordinary demonic beasts. 12 of them working together, even if the formation's power did not increase, it was still the strength of 12 Jin Dan stage cultivators. How could Qingyu and Xiaohei break through it? Not to mention that the formation also had an amplifying effect. Don't tell me we'll fall here as soon as we leave home. Qingyu could not help but smile bitterly in his heart. During this period of time, Qingyu and Xiaohei had been drifting on the sea, playing and relaxing. However, Qingyu had only been on the surface of the sea. Now that he had come into contact with real underwater demonic beasts, Qingyu knew that the path of cultivation was not so easy to walk. No wonder that Fenjiuzi never dared to enter the deep sea. No wonder he said that the most terrifying force in the sea was the underwater demonic beasts. Big brother, what do we do? Xiaohei urged. Qingyu's mind turned rapidly, but when he saw this large formation, he had nothing to say. A large formation set up by 12 Jin Dan stage octopuses was not something that one man and one eagle could break. Qingyu's heart was ruthless. No matter who it is, if they want to deal with me, I won't let them have an easy time. Although Qingyu treated his friend sincerely, don't forget that he used to be an assassin. Qingyu's heart wouldn't be soft. Big brother, out of the 16 Jin Dan stage demonic beasts, the 4 that didn't set up the formation are late Jin Dan stage, and the most terrifying red octopus should be in the Yuanying stage. Xiaohei's voice also became cold, without the usual playfulness. You can't escape. Prepare to fight. The power of the muscles in the depths of Qin Yu's entire body seems to be slowly awakening. No matter what, he has to go all out. He is not a coward who will let others take advantage of him. The flaming sword and the flaming gloves are also his most powerful weapons. One man and one eagle locked their spiritual senses on the people around them. They didn't dare to relax in the slightest, and were ready to attack at any time. The two brothers, one man and one eagle, felt a sense of crisis. The crisis of death. 12 Jin Dan stage octopuses had set up the 12 gates inescapable trap formation. Outside the formation were 4 late Jin Dan stage demonic beasts, and at the same time, a red octopus of the Yuanying stage. That berserk aura was constantly being emitted. The red octopus suddenly turned its body and turned into a human. Its entire body was 2 meters tall, but its body was draped in a red robe. The red robe was very large, as if it had wrapped its entire body. This red octopus in human form had a trace of a smile on its face. Its greedy gaze swept over Xiaohei, and it suddenly laughed. Haha, a Jin Dan stage bird actually ran to the bottom of the sea. You really are looking for death. Birds in the bottom of the sea are much weaker. You just wait to be slaughtered by me. Sang Mo. Xiaohei's eagle eyes shone with a sharp light as it stared at Sang Mo. Its aura wasn't any weaker than his opponent's. Sang Mo then looked towards Qin Yu. As soon as he saw Qin Yu, his eyes immediately lit up. Ah, this person is actually an immortal cultivator. I, Sang Mo, am truly very lucky. The Jin Dan and flesh of an immortal cultivator are extremely pure. The feeling of absorbing it is truly wonderful. Like a pervert who had seen a beautiful woman, this octopus called Sang Mo was extremely excited upon seeing Qin Yu. It seemed as though even his saliva was about to drip down. Oh, you said that I am an immortal cultivator? Qin Yu laughed as he replied with a question. In the current situation, Qin Yu didn't seem to be nervous at all, nor was he in a hurry to flee. Instead, he asked about Sang Mo's words. Sang Mo seemed to be looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He said amiably, "Oh, my delicious food. I can feel your aura. It doesn't have the aura of a demonic beast. You are definitely a human. Furthermore, the aura of your power." Wrapped in his red robe, Sang Mo's throat emitted a resounding voice. Blazing aura. That blazing aura is so pure. Most devil cultivators are corrosive, evil and mixed. Perhaps only the most elite of devil path sects would have such pure energy. But would such an elite sect have such a stupid disciple like you? You actually ran to the bottom of the sea. Sang Mo wasn't worried at all. Within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers, everything was Sang Mo's territory. Even if other experts came, they wouldn't be able to compete with him. Otherwise, they would be violating the rules. Once they violated the rules, then. Therefore, Sang Mo wasn't worried at all. Qin Yu slightly wrinkled his eyebrows. He clearly remembered that when he and Xiaohei dove into the sea, those weak demonic beasts fled as soon as they saw them. But the strong demonic beasts were betting on when they would die. It was as if those demonic beasts could tell that Qin Yu and Xiaohei were outsiders. Running to the bottom of the sea makes me stupid. Why? Qin Yu was happy to play dumb. Moreover, he really didn't know anything about this. It seems that you are really childish. But when a person dies with unwillingness, their flesh will be very tough. I love to devour that kind of flesh the most. So I won't tell you the answer. Haha. You can prepare to die with unwillingness in your heart. Sang Mo's sharp laughter came out from his red robe. He then waved his hand. Father Xiuxianists. I have never tasted one. TSK. I really want to taste it. Can you give me a leg to taste? At the side, a late Jin Dan green octopus turned into an evil young man and said to Sang Mo. Sang Mo smacked his lips twice and said helplessly, "You little devil, forget it. I'll give you a leg." Sang Mo was a bit more indulgent towards his son. That evil young man suddenly became excited. That's great. Father, give me that eagle as well. Santu. Sang Mo's face sank. A red light shot out from his eyes. I hate people the most. Give me an inch, and I want a mile. Even if it's my son, I've already given you a Xiuxianist leg. If you continue to talk nonsense, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Santu didn't dare to say anything. If Sang Mo wanted to be ruthless, Killing him would be impossible. But locking him in prison for 100 years was still possible. Sang Emo looked at the 12 octopuses in the formation and gently waved his hand. Qin Yu and Xiao He, who were trapped in the formation, raised all their strength, ready to launch their strongest attack at any time. Big brother. Xiao He's voice sounded in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu's muscles and bones crackled. He also sent a sound transmission. Xiao He, we can't be careless in this battle. Prepare to go all out. Once we break out of the formation, we'll have to rely on our speed to escape. If we can escape, we'll save as many as we can. Qin Yu didn't have any confidence in his two brothers. Motherf asterisk her. Even if I die, I'll take a few with me. Xiao He also went berserk. Suddenly, reel in the net. Sang Mo's face had a brilliant smile as he gave the order. Immediately, the 12 green octopuses poured their monstrous elemental energy into the formation. The formation actually transformed into a net of energy, directly binding Qin Yu and Xiao He. At the same time, the 12 green octopuses followed closely behind and attacked. These octopuses knew very well that although the 12 gates' inescapable net formation was powerful at trapping people, its attack power was ordinary. If the 12 of us join forces, we'll probably be able to deal with that immortal practitioner and eagle. Sang Emo was very confident. What was there for him to worry about? He was a monstrous beast at the early stage of yuanying, and an octopus with extremely high attack power. Although they were both at the early stage of yuanying, this Sang Emo was far more powerful than Xiang Yang. A divine beast of the same level could easily kill 10 immortal practitioners of the same level. Although this Sang Emo wasn't a divine beast, he was still comparable to 2 or 3 immortal practitioners of the same level. Xiao He, Qin Yu suddenly shouted loudly. At the same time, the flaming sword suddenly appeared in his hand, and he chopped directly at the net of energy. Unfortunately, the net of energy wasn't split open, but Xiao He, who had just been shouted at by Qin Yu, struck out with his eagle claw. Bang! The net of energy was shattered, and the energy dispersed in all directions. Screech! An extremely high-pitched screech of an eagle rang out from Xiao He's beak. At the same time, Xiao He flapped his wings and shot directly into the sky. An octopus's 8 enormous claws casually shook downwards, and it actually charged up like lightning. At the same time, 8 enormous whips as thick as water buckets viciously swept over. The octopus's 8 tentacles were extremely powerful. Xiao He's eyes lit up. Bang! 2 flashes of lightning shot out from Xiao He's eyes and hit the cyan octopus. The octopus's body immediately trembled. However, when Xiao He was about to escape, the other 5 or 6 octopuses had already filled up the surrounding space. Each octopus had 8 tentacles as thick as water buckets. Dozens of tentacles were very flexible, and they completely blocked any of Xiao He's moves. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave will win. Let's fight. Qin Yu clenched his teeth, and his whole body turned into a whirlwind. Ha! With a loud shout, a miserable cry rises in an instant. The 3 meat pillars are cut in half. Qin Yu is holding the flaming sword with one hand. The flaming sword is infused with stellar energy. No matter how formidable the meat pillars are, they will not be able to withstand the attack of a high-grade holy weapon. Sang Mo, who was watching from afar, sneered a few times. Third brother, go play with him. Yes, big brother. Next to Sang Mo were 4 cyan octopuses in the late stage of Jin Dan. One of them was Sang Mo's son, and the other 3 were his brothers. Sang Mo had already noticed that neither the man nor the eagle had reached the yuanying stage. Break my claws. Die. A sharp voice rang out in Qin Yu's mind through holy sense. The octopus whose tentacles were cut off by Qin Yu just now waved the other 5 tentacles madly. At the same time, a black stream of air suddenly rushed out, covering hundreds of meters in an instant. It's poisonous. Qin Yu immediately held his breath, but the black poisonous gas unexpectedly penetrated into his body through his pores. In just a moment, Qin Yu felt numbness in the parts of his body that were penetrated by the poisonous gas. Qin Yu immediately mobilized the power of the stars to completely block the poisonous gas. Bang! Qin Yu was busy blocking the poisonous gas, but at the same time, a terrifyingly powerful force smashed into Qin Yu's waist. Qin Yu couldn't help but fly backwards. At the same time, several tentacles smashed onto Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu didn't even have time to adjust. Qin Yu was smashed around like a sandbag. Qin Yu's earth-flaming gloves fiercely grabbed at a tentacle and directly tore it apart. Qin Yu borrowed the force of the collision and dodged to the side in exchange for a moment of silence. Blood seeped out of his mouth. Qin Yu spat out the blood in his mouth, his eyes flashing with a cold light. Motherf asterisk cur, a bunch of 8 tentacle bastards. Qin Yu's body was very tough. It was refined to the point where it was comparable to a spirit artifact. In addition, the clothes on his body also reduced the majority of the attack power. Qin Yu didn't suffer any serious injuries. At this moment, Xiaohei was also surrounded by 6 or 7 8-tentacle octopuses. The number of 8-tentacle octopuses around Qin Yu also increased. Those tentacles were constantly lashing out, and there were even demonic elemental energy flowing on the tentacles. There are too many claws. Qin Yu swayed his body and dodged an attack. However, immediately after, 6 or 7 tentacles smashed towards him. That terrifying demonic elemental energy was also constantly surging and bombarding. Qin Yu was like a small fish in a fish net. Qin Yu's spiritual sense was completely spread out. Qin Yu was completely in control of the overall situation. At this moment, Xiaohei was also in a very difficult situation. His lightning could at most paralyze these demonic beasts for a while, and his thunder fire could kill a demonic beast. However, how many thunder fire could he release? Even if he had other unique skills, they were all desperate unique skills. That Yuanying demonic beast hasn't made a move yet. If I don't fight, I won't even have the chance to escape. The corner of Qin Yu's eyes trembled slightly. His eyes began to turn red. In just a moment the power in his body reached the peak. Xiaohei, prepare for the passing lightning flash. Qin Yu's voice suddenly sounded in Xiaohei's mind. Xiaohei heard it and transmitted a message. Big brother, I'm surrounded by dozens of tentacles. How can I use the passing lightning flash? Xiaohei was also very distressed. However, just as he finished speaking, a shocking scene occurred. Boom! When Xiaohei saw this scene, he completely understood. Qin Yu was using the star field. The rapidly flowing star force formed a huge nebula around Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu's speed suddenly increased by almost 10 times. Break, break, break! Qin Yu was like a flash of lightning. He didn't attack Sangemo at all. Instead, he rushed towards Xiaohei. Qin Yu's flaming sword wildly cut down the tentacles blocking his way, completely ignoring the tentacles that smashed into his body. Even though the tentacles were cut and blood spurted out, they still couldn't block Qin Yu's gaze. Qin Yu stared at Xiaohei and shouted angrily, "Xiaohei, run!" Because of Qin Yu's actions, the 10-odd octopuses, that were originally in a mess, are now completely confused. Xiaohei immediately wakes up and uses the passing lightning flashing 9 times, wanting to rush up into the sky extremely fast. Qin Yu was also about to fly on his sword and escape at top speed. Suddenly, bang! A thick column of flesh directly hits Qin Yu's body. That terrifying power is much stronger than the previous strikes. Qin Yu's entire body shakes, as if he has been electrocuted. Blood unexpectedly sprays out from his mouth like water. Big brother! Xiaohei's wings flapped and he actually flew back. Chapter 102. Humph, you still want to escape. A huge red octopus floats next to Qin Yu. Compared to the 10-meter-long octopus of other cyan octopuses, this red octopus's octopus is 40 to 50 meters long. With a flash of light, the red octopus turns back into its human form. TSK, you didn't die from my attack. You have some skill. Sangemo looks at Qin Yu mockingly. At this moment, the other octopuses also turn back into their human forms. Although many octopuses had their claws cut off, their limbs are still intact after turning back into their human forms. This octopus has a special characteristic. Even if their octopuses are cut off, they can still grow back. This has nothing to do with their cultivation level. This is a special characteristic of the octopus clan. For example, the divine beast dragon Rocky Lion. If one of its limbs is cut off, unless it ascends, it will never be able to grow back. Third brother, just now when I asked you to attack, you didn't even touch him. Sang Yamo is very dissatisfied. The third brother immediately says in fear. Big brother, there was nothing I could do. Just now, I was ready to attack, but that Zayaxinist's speed suddenly increased by more than 10 times. He was terrifyingly fast. I couldn't catch up at all. Luckily, Big brother attacked at the last moment. Sang Yamo snorts. Forget about that. That kid's speed is really strange. In the end, I had to rely on my body and the length of my octopus to reach him first. In terms of physical speed, I'm at most on par with him. Qin Yu is aghast in his heart. Just now he used the astral field. Under normal circumstances, his speed is simply not comparable to Sang Mo's. It seems that it is really very difficult to escape. Qin Yu is constantly thinking in his heart, but he doesn't care about the injuries on his body. Qin Yu's injuries were very serious. However, numerous clear streams were flowing through his entire body unceasingly. He was recovering unceasingly at an astonishing speed. Qin Yu believes that it won't be long before his injuries are completely healed. However, Qin Yu is still amazed by Sang Mo's attack power. Big brother. Xiao He flew to Qin Yu's side, his wings stroking Qin Yu's back. Qin Yu turns around and takes a look at Xiao He. His face is full of anger. Xiao He, why aren't you running? Why? Qin Yu stared at Xiao He and reprimanded him with his holy sense. At this moment, Qin Yu's heart was filled with anger. Being stared at by Qin Yu, Xiao He said, Big brother, if you can't escape, we'll die together. Bastard. Qin Yu suddenly scolded. Xiao He was stunned. Qin Yu's holy sense resounded heavily in Xiao He's mind. Remember, no matter what, one of us has to escape. Even if you want to die together with me, you have to wait until after I get my revenge. Qin Yu's voice was filled with fierceness. The 8-year-old Qin Yu has never admitted defeat. Who is the most difficult to defeat? Defeating oneself is the most difficult. Qin Yu was able to defeat himself time and time again at the age of 8. No matter what, he has never admitted defeat. He won't admit defeat. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, he won't give up. He is very tenacious. He is not afraid of death. What he is afraid of is dying in such a cowardly way. Haha. Qin Yu suddenly raised his head and laughed loudly. Sang Yamo shouted coldly. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at myself for being so stupid. Qin Yu's eyes were blank for a while. Scenes of his experiences in the past 20 years flashed before his eyes. I was in high spirits when I was floating on the ocean, ready to experience the thrill of the Xiuzhen world. I even ignorantly dived into the deep sea, ready to explore the world of underwater demonic beasts. Unfortunately, I did experience the thrill, but this may be the last time I'll experience this thrill. Qin Yu said with a sigh. Xiao He, however, became suspicious. He knew Qin Yu very well. In the face of a crisis, Qin Yu would never give up until the very last moment. How could he say such discouraging words to the enemy now? Xiao He's intuition told him that there was a problem. You're really ignorant. Even Zayamoists and Zayaxianists don't dare to casually dive into the depths of the infinite ocean. Even if they dare to dive, there'll be some experts among Zayaxianists or Zayamoists. They'll quickly leave after diving into the depths. Sang Yamo was sure that the Zayaxianist in front of him was seriously injured. A Zayaxianist would be very lucky if he didn't die after being hit with all his strength. At first, Sang Yamo was worried that Qin Yu's body would be smashed into pieces. At this moment, seeing Qin Yu so discouraged, Sang Mo's pride naturally rose. My internal injuries are 90% healed. It's about time. Qin Yu was secretly calculating in his mind. His spiritual sense had accurately calculated the positions of everyone in the surroundings. He simulated the plan in his mind again. Qin Yu confirmed that there was no problem. Qin Yu turned his head and glanced at Xiao He. Feeling Qin Yu's gaze, Xiao He's heart couldn't help trembling. He knew that Qin Yu had definitely made a decision. Big brother, what are you going to do? Tell me quickly. Tell me quickly. Xiao He said anxiously. Qin Yu said firmly through his holy sense. Xiao He, you have to remember that if you have another chance to escape, you have to seize it. No matter what, you have to escape. Every one of us who escapes must avenge the one who didn't escape. If both of us escape, that'll be a great thing. If neither of us escapes, we'll drag a few of them down with us. Xiao He was startled. He could feel Qin Yu's determination to go all out. Xiao He had just come out, and he was already together with Qin Yu. This man and this eagle had already formed a special connection with each other. They could even sense each other's emotions. It was really very mysterious. Big brother, don't worry. I won't let you down. Suddenly, the cry of an eagle suddenly rang out. At the same time, a terrifying force exploded from Xiao He's body. Xiao He opened his mouth and spat out a ball of thunderfire at high speed towards Sang Imo, different from the thunderfire of the past. This ball of thunderfire had a ball of black lightning at its core. Little trick. Sang Imo disdainfully waves his sleeve. A red ribbon flies out from his sleeve and directly whips at Xiao He's thunder flame. However, that thunder flame unexpectedly blazes brightly all of a sudden and burns the ribbon to nothingness in just an instant. Sang Mo's face changed. Big brother, run quickly. Xiao He's voice rang out in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu's face changed. Xiao He had actually acted faster than him. Unfortunately, he knew that Xiao He's plan was really too simple. So simple that it was virtually impossible to succeed. But Qin Yu wouldn't let Xiao He's scheme go to waste. Swish! Qin Yu stood on his flying sword, flying towards the south at high speed. You want to run? Two late-stage Jin Dan octopuses brandished their 16 tentacles, blocking in front of Qin Yu. But on the other side, two late-stage Jin Dan octopuses were completely prepared as well, blocking Qin Yu's path. Compared to eagles, these octopuses preferred to eat the flesh of immortal practitioners. What's more, Qin Yu had just chopped off quite a few of their tentacles. These octopuses hated Qin Yu far more than they hated Xiao He. At the same time, Xiao He's thunderfire shot towards Sang Mo's eyes. Sang Imo utters a roar all of a sudden and turns into a huge red octopus. Various golden rays of light are unexpectedly flickering on his nearly 40 to 50 m long tentacles. If one takes a careful look, one can see that the surface of the tentacles is covered in some kind of armor similar to a holy weapon. Boom! Containing a powerful and terrifying demonic elemental energy, that tentacle ruthlessly whipped the ball of thunderfire. The thunderfire broke apart with a loud bang, but that dark black lightning unexpectedly flowed onto the surface of the tentacle like liquid. Chi-chi! That spirit-type armor was corroded in just a short while. Sang Imo immediately felt waves of intense pain. He immediately controlled the demonic elemental energy in his body to resist that strange dark black lightning with a strong corrosive effect. Don't even think about running away. A low and deep voice containing extreme anger resounded in the minds of Qin Yu and Xiao He. 8 40-50 meter long tentacles were like huge pythons, completely surrounding Xiao He. Berserk power was surging between each tentacle. Big brother. Xiao He looked at the 8 tentacles surrounding him, and then looked at Qin Yu surrounded by 4 late-stage Jin Dan octopuses. He was speechless. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a trace of a smile, although it was only a flash. However, Xiao He was very sure that he did see a trace of a smile in Qin Yu's eyes. That was the smile of a successful plan. Xiao He couldn't help but stare blankly in his heart. Humph. You actually dared to break my mid-grade spirit-type armor. I will skin you alive, then suck your blood essence and scatter your soul. Sang Mo's low and deep voice resounded in the minds of Qin Yu and Xiao He. Xiao He carefully analyzes the difference in power between itself and Sang Mo. In the end, he discovers that even if he were to go all out and use his special skill, he would still not be able to defeat this early Yuanying stage demonic beast in front of him, who is 3 times more powerful than Xiang Yang. But at this moment Qin Yu was, very good, this is the moment. Qin Yu's mouth had a trace of a sneer. His spiritual sense was completely focused on that Santu Sang Mo's son. At this moment, Santu seemed to be concerned about his father, and unexpectedly turned his head to look. The moment he turned his head to look, Lu Xing's strike. Qin Yu's entire body began to spin. Holding the flaming sword with both hands, the power of the stars began to revolve in a strange trajectory. In just an instant, Qin Yu's entire body turned into a sharp cone, and the tip of the cone was the flaming sword. Santu, one of the late-stage Jin Dan octopuses, discovered Qin Yu, but with Qin Yu's speed, he simply couldn't stop him in time. He only had time to transmit his spiritual sense to every demonic beast present. The others also discovered it. Santu, when Sang Imo looked over, he only saw an illusory, star-colored cone spinning and directly breaking open the head of his son, Sang Pu's true body. Then, with a wisp of golden light, it shot directly towards the south. Sang Imo was very clear about that wisp of golden light. It was none other than Jin Dan. Whose Jin Dan was it? Bang! Santa's body fell to the ground with a loud bang. Caught off guard, he was killed by Qin Yu's all-out strike. In fact, even if he had been prepared, he still wouldn't have been able to block Qin Yu's all-out strike. Demonic beasts value their own children more than humans do. Sang Imo was cruel and indifferent, but he was very good to his son. The reason why his son could reach the late-stage Jin Dan and have the same strength as Sang Mo's brothers was that Sang Imo himself killed some demonic beasts and gave the Jin Dan to his son to devour. Ah! A sharp, ear-piercing sound spread out in all directions like ripples. At the same time, Sang Mo's 8 huge tentacles suddenly shook downwards. Immediately, like lightning, they cut through the water and chased after Qin Yu. Xiaohei was dumbfounded. Xiaohei, hurry up and run. This is your last chance. Don't let me down. Otherwise, even if I die, I won't be able to rest in peace. Qin Yu's voice rang out in Xiaohei's mind through his spiritual sense. Xiaohei instantly understood. A high-pitched wail came out of Xiaohei's eagle mouth. That wail contained extreme pain, unwillingness, resentment, and sadness. However, Xiaohei had no other choice. He used the passing lightning flashing 9 times and flew towards the west. At this moment, the other octopuses came to their senses. They wanted to chase after Xiaohei. But this eagle's speed is actually as frighteningly fast as that immortal practitioner. That late-stage Jin Dan octopus, seeing Xiaohei's speed, consciously gave up on chasing after him. They were twice as slow as Xiaohei, unless their boss Sang Imo, who had reached the early stage of yuanying, personally chased after him. There was no hope. Are we not going to chase? The third brother looked at the fourth brother, and the second brother. The second brother rebuked, "What chase? Santu is already dead. Boss is definitely going to go crazy. Why don't we help chase after that immortal practitioner? That eagle is of no importance. If that immortal practitioner really does escape, you guys should prepare to face the wrath of boss." When the third brother and the fourth brother thought of Sang Mo's temper, they immediately trembled. Let's go. The 3 late-stage Jin Dan monstrous beasts also quickly chased towards the south. At this moment, Qin Yu was standing on his flying sword, using the one with the weapon technique. His entire body was like a bolt of lightning, shuttling through the water at an extremely fast speed. But behind him, the furious red octopus, which had just lost its son, flickered its 8 tentacles, almost teleporting. Bang! A tentacle smashed down. Qin Yu's entire body twisted strangely at the last moment, barely dodging this blow. But immediately afterwards, several tentacles smashed down, and Qin Yu's speed suddenly slowed down. Qin Yu gritted his teeth. Let's see how lucky I am. Qin Yu's entire body suddenly turned red, as though it was boiling. A hint of a smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. He knew Xiaohei's speed very well. Without Sang Imo chasing after him, Xiaohei would definitely be able to escape. Goodbye, Xiaohei, Qin Yu said slowly in his heart. Instantly, Qin Yu's entire body turned extremely red. Qin Yu's eyes flashed fiercely, and suddenly, a flame began to burn on Qin Yu's arm. Chapter 103. Almost in an instant, Qin Yu's entire body turns into a Lu Xing and flies towards the south extremely fast. Compared to Qin Yu's usual speed when he uses the one with the weapon, he is tens of times, close to 100 times faster. Sang Imo blinks and Qin Yu completely disappears. The giant red octopus's body changes and turns into the red-robed demonic man Sang Imo hidden in the red robe. Sang Mo's eyes emit a green light. He stands there for a long time, not knowing what he is thinking. Only after a long time does he say in a low voice with hatred, "Blood evasion? No, it doesn't look like it. He's not a Shumo." "Humph, Zyuxianist, no matter who you are, I, Sangmo, will definitely kill you to avenge my son." Sangmo's body moves, and he immediately leaves his original place. After half a day, Sangmo arrives at a very elegant palace. There is a water-repelling seal set up outside this palace. Even though it is at the bottom of the sea, there is not a bit of water inside this palace. Sangmo directly enters the palace just like this. "Patriarch." Two muscular bald men bow and say to Sangmo. Sangmo says nothing and directly enters the main hall of the palace. He orders in a cold voice, "Pass down the order. Everyone is to quickly gather in the main hall within 10 breaths. Those who are late will be punished." Sangmo's voice directly resounds through the entire palace. 10 breaths. In such a short time, each and every one of the clansmen rushes to the main hall using their demonic elemental energy. In less than 10 breaths, there are already close to 100 people gathered in the palace. They are all in human form. To enter the palace, they must transform into human form. Otherwise, the palace simply cannot withstand the huge volume of the octopus. To be able to transform into human form means that these clansmen have at least reached the Jin Dan stage. "Patriarch, for you to anxiously gather the clansmen, I wonder what's the big matter?" A gray-robed middle-aged man bows and says. Sangmo, who was wrapped in a red robe, coldly said, "Humph, what big matter? My son Santu was killed." "Samman, don't you think this is a big matter?" Sangmo stared coldly at the gray-robed middle-aged man, Samman. Being stared at by that cold gaze, Samman immediately felt his hair stand on end. Samman's heart trembled. That brat Santu actually died. No wonder the patriarch is so angry. This time I have provoked the patriarch's anger. Samman knew the situation was not good. He quickly stood up and said to Sangmo, "Big matter? Of course it's a big matter. Patriarch, tell me which bastard dared to kill Santu. I'll definitely tear him to pieces." "Step down." Sangmo coldly snorted. Samman immediately and obediently stepped back into the group, secretly letting out a sigh of relief. Even though my Sang clan can't be considered a big clan, nobody within a circumference of 8 million li of this blood-red cave has ever dared to bully my clan. This time my son was unexpectedly killed by a Zyuxianist. The aura around Sangmo's entire body is terrifyingly gloomy and cold. None of the other clansmen dared to say anything. In the Sang clan, Sangmo's words were absolute. In the end, that brat used a technique similar to the blood evasion technique of Zyumoists. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured, with less than 10% of his power remaining. Within 8 million kilometers of the Red Blood Cave, there are only a few Zyuxianist and Zyumoist islands. They definitely don't have such blazing energy as that brat did. Sangmo said in a low voice. Suddenly his voice turned cold and fierce. All of the clansmen of the Sang clan, one by one, spread the word to the other clansmen. That brat must be within 100,000 kilometers. There isn't a single Zyuxianist island in this area. Find him. You must find him. Yes. The nearly 100 clansmen in the main hall immediately responded. All right, you can go now. Sangmo shouts an order. Immediately, the nearly 100 clansmen flew out of the palace. Sangmo himself then took out a black talisman with some talismans on it. It was none other than a relatively precious transmitter. Sangmo inputted his request into it using his holy sense. In just a short while, this message was transmitted to the Blood-Red Ridge, which was several million li away. The Blood-Red Ridge is the center of an 8 million li radius water area. The Red Blood Cave is the center of the highest authority in this 8 million li radius water area. Inside the Blood-Red Cave, there is a cave master and 2 vice masters. Under them are 13 guardians. The 13 guardians of the Red Blood Cave are very powerful. Even the weakest of them is at the late Jin Dan stage. Moreover, in terms of actual attack power, this late Jin Dan guardian is not at all weaker than early Yuanying Ziyuists. This is also the reason why he was able to become one of the 13 guardians of the Red Blood Cave. Moreover, this Sangmo has another identity. He is one of the 13 guardians of the Red Blood Cave. Inside the blood-red cave, Vice Master, Sang-Emo Protector has sent a message. He wants to offer a reward. A golden-haired big man, who has received the message, says to a lean man. This lean man is none other than Shigon, one of the two Vice Masters. The master of the Red Blood Cave is called Shigon. His power is the most terrifying. It is said that he has already reached the Dongshi stage. In addition, his true form is a blood-red aquatic python, which is extraordinarily gifted, so his attack power is extremely strong. Even in the boundless ocean, he can be considered a #1 expert. The two Vice Masters are not very powerful. The reason why they are Vice Masters is that they are Shigon's younger brothers. The second brother chap has pretty good power. He has reached the middle stage of Yuanying. As for the third brother, Shigon, he is only at the early stage of Yuanying, so his power is similar to that of ordinary guardians. However, because his older brother is Shigon, Shigon can really run amok in the ocean. Oh, offer a reward? Shigon's long and narrow face, and his pair of ice-cold eyes make him look like a real python's. Yes, Sang-Emo Protector's son was killed by a Zyuxianist. As soon as the golden-haired big man finishes speaking, Shigon bursts out laughing. No wonder Sang-Mo's precious son was killed. It would be strange if Sang-Emo didn't go crazy. Tell me, what treasure did Sang-Emo take out? Let's see if it's worth it for me to get involved. The golden-haired big man says. Vice Master, Sang-Emo Protector took out a middle-grade holy weapon. At the same time, he said that if someone catches that Zyuxianist, he will owe that person a favor. Hearing that it was a middle-grade holy weapon, a hint of disappointment appears on Vice Master Shigon's face. That Sang-Emo is really stingy. A middle-grade holy weapon and a favor. That's why he offered a reward. All right, no matter what, Sang-Emo is also a guardian of our Red Blood Cave. Help him issue a reward in the 8 million li radius area of the ocean. Yes. The golden-haired big man curses in his heart. You're the Vice Master, so of course you don't care about this middle-grade holy weapon. But the reward for catching a Jin Dan stage Zyuxianist, who used something similar to the blood evasion technique, is already high enough. Of course, the golden-haired big man won't say it out loud. Zuyuists are inferior to Zyuxianists in forging weapons. A low-grade holy weapon can be easily forged, but a middle-grade holy weapon is much more difficult. Zuyuists who have middle-grade holy weapons are mostly Yuanying stage Zuyuists. A middle-grade holy weapon, and a favor from Sang-Emo, is one of the 13 guardians, so a favor from him is very useful. Perhaps as soon as this reward is issued, a large group of Jin Dan stage Zuyuists will definitely set out. The target is really too weak. He used something similar to the blood evasion technique, so his elemental energy will definitely be greatly damaged. It'll be pretty good if he has 30% of his power left. The golden-haired big man shakes his head with a smile, then goes out to issue the reward. Vice Master Shigon then goes back to his own residence. He says indignantly, Sang-Emo is really stingy. He's actually reluctant to take out that high-grade holy weapon Thunder Hammer. This Shigon has been coveting Sang-Mo's precious Thunder Hammer for a long time. Unfortunately, his big brother Shigon has given an order that his subordinates are absolutely not allowed to attack each other. After the reward is issued, various Zuyuists in the 8 million li radius area of the ocean, under the control of the Red Blood Cave, start to come out. Occasionally, even Yuanying stage experts come out. The description of Qingyu in the reward is very clear. Everybody who has received the news has judged that this Zyuxianist, who has extremely hot and pure energy, should be within 100,000 li of the ocean, near the Qianlong continent. After all, even if it's a desperate escape technique like the blood evasion technique, the distance won't be too far apart. Therefore, the experts within this 100,000 li radius area of the ocean are frequently dispatched. The further away they are from this area, the fewer Zuyuists come out. And the most enthusiastic and concerned people about this matter are naturally the members of the Sang clan, an octopus clan. A severe pain comes from his left arm. Qingyu's entire body turns into a Lu Xing and flies towards the south extremely fast non-stop. This escape technique is none other than the special escape technique of the stellar transformations technique. Lu Xing's escape technique. Just like Lu Xing, he is burning himself in exchange for the fastest speed. King Lu Xing's escape technique. This feeling is really unbearable. Qin Yu clenches his teeth and makes noises. His whole body is red as if flames are going to come out of his body. The essence blood in the muscles of his arm is being burned unceasingly. Normally, such severe pain should have made him pass out long ago. After all, the pain of burning one's own flesh and blood like this is far beyond the limit of an ordinary person. However, Qin Yu's mind has been trained since he was a child, so it is too tough. Moreover, his soul is also very tough because it has been nourished by Lu Xing's tear. Therefore, Qin Yu unexpectedly doesn't pass out in such severe pain. But not passing out makes the pain even more painful. When he is sober, Qin Yu sees himself flying extremely fast towards the south. Only when more than half of the skin and flesh on his left arm, including the upper half of his body, has been burned does Qin Yu stop. It's at least several tens of thousands li away. Qin Yu's entire face twitches. The feeling of being burned unceasingly, while staying sober, is really unbearable for ordinary people. Lu Xing's tear, it's all up to you now. Qin Yu directly dives into the quarrel and begins to stay motionless. Clear streams of Lu Xing's tear flowed out, unceasingly nourishing the part of his body that is being burned. Qin Yu's left arm is almost completely burned, leaving only a small amount of charred flesh and bones. Just looking at it is unacceptable. Qin Yu's entire body trembles unceasingly. The feeling of the clear streams of Lu Xing's tear fusing into his body is indeed very comfortable, allowing Qin Yu's injuries to continuously heal. Even the flesh and blood that was being burned is being regenerated. However, the feeling of his flesh and blood being regenerated is actually even more painful than being burned. Sweat unceasingly seeps out of Qin Yu's entire body. Qin Yu's muscles and bones are trembling. Xiaohei, you should be fine, right? Qin Yu actually thought of this in his heart. But immediately after, a piercing pain comes from his chest. His chest bone, which has been broken and burned for more than half, is actually slowly growing out again. However, the pain is truly terrifying. Qin Yu can't help but groan. Sweat unceasingly seeps out of his entire body. At this moment, Qin Yu can't think of anything else. He can only endure this pain. Lu Xing's tear is moistened and comfortable. The flesh and bones in his injured area are being regenerated. The soul-shaking pain is simply two extremes of comfort and pain. Qin Yu constantly goes back and forth between these two extremes. However, for Lu Xing's tear, the recovery of flesh and bones is much easier than the recovery of internal organs. In just 2 days, the originally terrifying scars have been mostly healed. Qin Yu's left arm is actually 80% recovered. His flesh and bones are being regenerated. Lu Xing's tear really didn't disappoint me. Qin Yu let Xiaohei escape first because he bet on the miraculous effects of his Lu Xing's tear. However, even Qin Yu doesn't dare to be sure that this Lu Xing's tear can regenerate limbs. After all, being able to heal the heart doesn't mean that it can regenerate limbs. For Xiaohei, Qin Yu gambled, and this time he won the bet. Good, now my injuries are mostly healed. Qin Yu tries hard to sit up cross-legged. Immediately, some of the parts of his body that were previously stuttering start to bleed. Qin Yu hisses in pain. But Qin Yu still sits up and uses his uninjured right hand to take out a Jin Dan. Santa's Jin Dan. At this moment, strength is the most important thing. Let me refine this Jin Dan first. Qin Yu doesn't care that his injuries haven't completely healed. He immediately stimulates the nebula in his body, forming a nebula around his body, and begins to refine this Jin Dan. Qin Yu's refining method requires the energy to flow from the nebula outside his body, through his muscles and bones, and into the nebula within his dantian. However, at this moment, Qin Yu's body is still in a heavily injured state. When the power of the stars and the essence of the Jin Dan seeps through his muscles, bones, and meridians, Qin Yu's entire body can't help but tremble slightly. The pain is truly unbearable. Even when he was young, Qin Yu has never been in such pain before. However, Qin Yu understands that he has to endure. He has to save time and do his best to increase his strength. The boundless sea is a place he is not familiar with. In this unfamiliar place, Qin Yu first needs to increase his strength, and then he needs to know everything about the sea. Furthermore, that Sang Emo definitely won't let him off. Sang Emo should be focusing most of his attention on me. Xiao Hei should be safe. Qin Yu thinks to himself. However, pain that goes deep into his muscles and bones is still coming from every part of his body. Sang Tu's Jindan is also being refined and absorbed non-stop. In a gloomy underwater cave, there are only 2 green lights. Those are the lights of eyes. It is Xiao Hei, who was relying on Qin Yu to escape. Xiao Hei's body is constantly flashing with black lightning. After a long time, a golden stream of energy floated out from Xiao Hei's body. Big brother, you have to hold on. You have to wait for me. Xiao Hei and Qin Yu have a special telepathic connection. He can feel that Qin Yu is still alive, but he also knows that with Sang Emo chasing after him, Qin Yu is also in imminent danger. Thus, Xiao Hei chooses the forbidden technique in his inherited memories. A low mournful cry comes from Xiao Hei's throat. His entire body is constantly undergoing earth-shaking changes. Big brother, wait for me. Chapter 104. Qi Qi. The power of the Jindan keeps shuttling through Qin Yu's bones and muscles, causing them to tremble again and again. Tiny drops of blood keep oozing out of Qin Yu's pores. However, Qin Yu clenches his teeth and bears with it. Time is of the essence. In Qin Yu's nebula and his dantian, that cyan flame is incessantly burning the airflow of the Jindan, burning away all the impurities and leaving only the essence, which is then absorbed by the various silver granules in Qin Yu's nebula. Last time Qin Yu executed his unique skill and Xiang Yang's desperate strike, Qin Yu's silver granules have become much smaller. Even though they have been repaired for a while, they have only recovered more than half. At the moment, the silver granules in Qin Yu's nebula have already surpassed Qin Yu's best state in the past. I only need half a day. After half a day, my power will return to its best state. Qin Yu plans in his mind. He doesn't need to pay too much attention to refining the Jindan, because he thinks the refining process is very simple, and he only needs to pay a little attention to it. But what can I do even if my power recovers? Qin Yu becomes a bit anxious. Qin Yu simply doesn't know anything about this enormous overseas Xiuzhen world, especially the underwater Zuyuist world, which is the most powerful. For example, he was judged as an outsider by other Zuyuists when he entered the ocean for the first time. What actually happened? If he can't figure this out, perhaps it will be very difficult for him to make any progress. There are as many Zuyuists as there are clouds in the ocean. There must be many more who are stronger than me. If I don't completely understand the underwater Zuyuist world, perhaps I'll have to return to my hometown on the Qianlong continent like a coward. Qin Yu simply can't tolerate himself retreating. But what can he do about it? Ask people? Will those Zuyuists tell him? Perhaps they will immediately attack Qin Yu. Alright, a light flashes through Qin Yu's mind. He suddenly remembers those Xiuzhen books he read in Lei Mountain House. Among them, there are Xiaxianist secret books, Xiaomoi's secret books and Zuyuist secret books. In addition, there were also some secret cultivation manuals from the Holy Land of True Cultivation in another universe, Earth. One of them seemed to be a devil cultivator's secret manual from Earth. Qin Yu roughly flipped through it and saw these 2 words, Soul Search. However, Qin Yu wasn't interested in some of the cultivation methods of devil cultivators, such as using pregnant women's private placentas and so on. He just flipped through the books. However, Qin Yu paid attention to this demonic path secret technique, Soul Search. Alright, after I refine the Jindan, I'll begin my research. Qin Yu's heart was filled with joy. At the most critical moment, these special skills of the devil path could actually help him. At the thought of Soul Search, Qin Yu also recalled the other Devil Dao secret skills described in the secret manual. Each of the secret skills was extremely mysterious. However, to the current Qin Yu, it was extremely suitable for him. Just as Qin Yu was about to rejoice suddenly. No good, there are some people. Qin Yu knew the situation was bad. His holy sense had clearly detected 2 Zuyuists passing by above. These 2 Zuyuists were both flying in the water in human form. but they were not very powerful. The most powerful one was only at the late stage of the Jin Dan stage. Qin Yu's soul was very tough, so his holy sense was also very powerful. Under the cover of his holy sense, those two Zuyuists unexpectedly didn't detect him at all. Senior brother, I heard the son of the head of the Sang clan of the Octopus clan was killed. The head of the Sang clan even issued a reward. Once the murderer is caught, the head of the Sang clan will owe him a favor and a middle-grade holy weapon. A tall Zuyuist says casually to the short Zuyuist beside him laughingly. The senior brother says disdainfully, Junior brother, don't think so much. Since the murderer was able to kill the son of the head of the Sang clan, his power can't be weak. Stop dreaming. The tall Zuyuist, however, disagrees. Senior brother, haven't you heard about that reward? That Xiuxianist used an escape technique similar to the blood evasion technique in the end, so his elemental energy must have been greatly damaged. Moreover, his power is not even at the Yuanying stage. Senior brother, an escape technique at the same level as the blood evasion is absolutely impossible to recover without a year or so. That's true. It's very difficult to recover from an escape technique at the same level as the blood evasion technique. The senior brother nods in agreement. Qin Yu, who is observing everything from below with his holy sense, secretly rejoices. If it weren't for Lu Xing's tear, it would really be impossible for him to recover his power without a year or so. Moreover, his burning left arm would not be able to regrow. Those Zuyuists all think it's very easy to catch Qin Yu. The only problem is finding Qin Yu. A human without the aura of a Zuyuist is very easy to distinguish. However, Qin Yu has Lu Xing's tear. None of the Zuyuists expected this. This gives Qin Yu a glimmer of hope to survive. That's right. Senior brother, that Xiuxianist must be very weak. How about we check him and use our holy sense to search while flying? Maybe we'll really run into him. The tall Zuyuist suggests. Qin Yu's heart, however, is shaken. In that instant, he feels as if his heart suddenly stops. Then his heartbeat seems to be vibrating in his mind. No good. I haven't succeeded in refining this Jin Dan. If I rush out like this without any preparation or plan, even if I kill these two, I'll still be chased by a great number of Zuyuists. After the lesson last time, Qin Yu also knows that he can't be rash. No matter what, he has to be prepared for everything. Junior brother, stop dreaming. The ocean is vast and limitless. The range of our holy sense is very small. If we discover some terrifying demonic beast with our holy sense and annoy it, you'll have to prepare to die. The senior brother shouts. It's very impolite to use your holy sense to casually check someone who is more powerful than you. As soon as the tall Zuyuist hears this, he cannot help but feel scared. Yes, you're right, senior brother. Let's go. If it's yours, it's yours. If it's not yours, you can't force it. That senior brother is obviously very steady. He then leads his junior brother, and the two of them continue to move forward. They pass over Qin Yu's head. The ocean is limitless. Perhaps some formidable demonic beast is hiding at the bottom of the ocean and practicing quietly. Even though the probability is very small, it is definitely higher than finding Qin Yu. After all, there is only one Qin Yu, and there must be more than one demonic beast hiding at the bottom of the ocean. If their holy sense disturbs such a formidable demonic beast, it may eat them. Phew! Qin Yu secretly lets out a sigh of relief. Even though he is not afraid of these two Zuyuists, it would be terrible if his identity was exposed because of them. Moreover, according to what these two Zuyuists said, Qin Yu discovers a very bad thing. A bounty. No good. Sang Emo has unexpectedly put a bounty on me. Qin Yu thinks of many things in an instant. In the end, he confirms that he must first learn the Xioma secret technique Soul Search. As for some other special secret techniques, he is not in a hurry to learn them. After learning Soul Search, he must first find a Zuyuist and use it. At the very least, he will know the general situation of the world of Zuyuists at the bottom of the ocean, so that he can be better prepared. After all, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. After half a day, Qin Yu has finally completely refined that Jin Dan. By now, all the injuries on Qin Yu's body have been healed. There isn't even a scar on his arm. Only there are many blood scabs on the surface of his body. These blood scabs are condensed from the blood that seeped out of Qin Yu's unhealed muscles when he refined the Jin Dan. Of course, by now Qin Yu's body has completely recovered. Wang, the energy on the surface of his body vibrates, and those blood scabs are completely shattered. Very good. I've never been in such a good state before. Qin Yu opens his eyes. At the moment he is under a coral. Qin Yu directly uses his stellar energy to shake the surrounding soil away. At the same time, his holy sense completely enters the space ring. Qin Yu's holy sense can easily browse through everything in the space ring. Qin Yu's holy sense directly enters the study of Lei Mountain House. Wuming. Only when Qin Yu uses his holy sense to open that secret book does Qin Yu notice that this secret book about Xioma unexpectedly has this name. Wuming doesn't mean that it doesn't have a name. It means that this secret book of Xioma is called Wuming. Qin Yu directly skips over that so-called Xioma method and reads the practicing method about Xioma secret techniques directly. In the past, Qin Yu didn't pay attention to this, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. Now he begins to read it carefully line by line. What's the holy sense? Is it naturally produced when one reaches the level of Jin Dan and has a strong enough soul? According to ancient legends, Zayashinists have holy senses and immortals have immortal senses. This is a matter of course. I originally thought so, but later I found out that this is not the case at all. Seeing this paragraph, Qin Yu is completely immersed in it. Reading with the holy sense is indeed very fast. Soon, Qin Yu has finished reading all kinds of secret techniques about Xioma. After reading this secret technique, Qin Yu feels that his understanding of the soul has reached a new level. Qin Yu opens his eyes, and a light of excitement flashes through them. The Wuming book written by this anonymous senior is absolutely not inferior to the stellar transformations cultivation method created by Master. After reading this book, Qin Yu sincerely admires this Zayashinist senior from another universe on Earth. That senior had revealed a new world, a world of the most essential soul. Well, let's start the first attempt. Sets of Xioma secret techniques flashed through Qin Yu's mind. However, all secret techniques have the same root, the power of the soul that can be controlled at will. What is the power of the soul? Holy sense is the power of the soul. The legendary immortal sense, according to inference, is also the power of the soul. It's just that when the soul is strong to a certain extent, the power of the soul will also undergo an essential change. Qin Yu recalls the description of the first step of cultivation. The first step of this cultivation method is the most difficult. The power of the soul is very mysterious. Ordinary Zayashinists can only spread the power of the soul. It's extremely difficult to make other changes, such as turning the power of the soul into a vortex, a circle, and so on. It depends on one's talent. There's only trial and error, there's no shortcut. Qin Yu can only hope that his talent is high. Spin spin. Qin Yu says silently in his mind, trying to control the power of the soul to change according to his will. However, as the book says, the power of the soul is really difficult to control. It seems to only have two functions, spreading and contracting. The spreading of the power of the soul is the observation of the soul with the holy sense. The contracting of the soul is not the use of the holy sense. A thin stream of heat slowly flows from Lu Xing's tears into Qin Yu's mind. In the depths of his mind, there is a disc-shaped energy. Around this disc, electric snakes are constantly winding, and at the same time, a seven-colored light is slowly released. That thin stream of heat is slowly swallowed by the disc. Qin Yu is still trying to control the power of the soul. The eyes of nothingness cannot see. They can only feel the power of the soul. Trying again and again, Qin Yu does not give up. Because the Book of the Devil Path once said, the most talented disciple of this sect tried for 3 days before he could slightly control the power of the soul. The creator of this book spent a whole year to write it. Originally, the nothingness of the soul that quietly revolves around the soul in his mind suddenly vibrates. It moved. Qin Yu's heart suddenly burst with joy. He did not think that he would succeed in just an hour. He simply cannot understand how he can control the power of the soul so easily. Soul search. Qin Yu suddenly thought of the soul search technique. He did not waste any time, and immediately continued to practice. In less than half an hour, 10% of the power of the soul in his mind is completely under Qin Yu's control. Yes, 10% is completely under his control. Although this seems small, the creator of this book spent a whole 50 years to reach 10%. However, no matter how Qin Yu tries, he is unable to control more. Okay, first fix the back. Qin Yu controlled the 10% of the power of the soul and started to move. The power of the soul is in the shape of a whirlpool, wrapping the soul, and the other power of the soul in the core. On Earth, this is a defensive method to prevent others from using the power of the soul to attack. Even if you cannot forcibly resist, you can use the whirlpool to weaken it layer by layer. The whirlpool-like power of the soul began to slowly move. Suddenly, the tear of Lu Xing and Qin Yu's body vibrated. A blazing warm current directly flowed out from Lu Xing's tear and rushed directly into Qin Yu's mind. The whirlpool is unable to stop it. The warm current is rampaging and directly broke the whirlpool formed by Qin Yu. Not good. This is the first time Qin Yu used the power of the soul to form a whirlpool, but it was suddenly forcefully broken. The power of the soul actually became chaotic. Moreover, it also caused the remaining power of the soul that Qin Yu is unable to control to become chaotic. When the power of the soul was calm, Qin Yu was only able to control 10% of it with great difficulty. Now that it has become completely chaotic, Qin Yu panics at once. At this moment, a middle Yuanying stage Zuyoist is slowly flying over in the distance. His holy sense spreads out in a very domineering manner. According to the direction of his holy sense, he is heading in Qin Yu's direction. Given the chaotic power of the soul, Qin Yu will definitely not be able to escape from this Zuyoist's detection. According to the bounty poster, that Xiexionist is very likely to be in this area of 100,000 Li Sangmo is an idiot. He can't even catch a Xiexionist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage. A large man with a horn on his head humps coldly and flies extremely fast towards Qin Yu. Chapter 105. At the moment, Qin Yu simply doesn't know that a middle-stage Yuanying Zuyoist is about to search the area where he is. His attention is completely focused on what is happening in his mind. That blazing cyan stream of air rushes into the area of soul energy, like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Water is impermanent, and so is this intangible soul energy. Even though it is disturbed, it can naturally return to its original state with time. Of course, the time it takes to return to its original state cannot be considered short. In his mind, compared to the enormous soul energy, the core of the soul energy, that disk which is emitting winding electric snakes, is the real core of a person's soul. The relationship between the soul and the soul energy is like the relationship between the sun and the sunlight. The soul is the real body. Qin Yu's current practice only allows him to have some understanding of the soul energy. He simply doesn't know anything about the real fundamental soul. The soul is a forbidden area that Xiaxionists can't touch. What's that blazing cyan stream of air which was emitted by Lu Xing's tear? Qin Yu's attention is completely focused on that cyan stream of air, which has suddenly appeared. That blazing cyan stream of air is not obstructed at all. It passes through the area of soul energy and flies directly to the soul. The area of soul energy is like a turbulent sea. In the middle of this turbulent sea of soul energy, there is a disc-like island which is the soul. When the cyan stream of air reaches the island in the middle, the soul directly absorbs it. At the same time, the seven-colored disc, which is emitting winding electric snakes, suddenly becomes chaotic. The cyan light suddenly surges. In a short while, it returns to its original state. In this split second, the enormous soul energy around the soul flashes with cyan light. All of the soul energy seems to have undergone a metamorphosis. Qin Yu himself has also undergone an extremely great change. What a wonderful feeling! Qin Yu suddenly opens his eyes. His eyes glitter. Mental power control. At the moment, Qin Yu's mental power control is much stronger than before. This kind of mental power control has many uses, such as controlling the circulation of the elemental energy in his body. The stronger his mental power control is, the more obedient Qin Yu's elemental energy will be. When he attacks in the future, he will be able to control it even more subtly. However, the power of the soul seems to be even harder to control. When Qin Yu tried to control his soul strength again, he discovered that his soul strength had also changed. In the past, his soul strength was that of an untrained scholar, but now, it was that of a strong and powerful man. It had undergone an indescribable change, making it much more difficult to control. Even with Qin Yu's sudden increase in soul power, he was still only able to control 1/10 of his soul power. As his control grew, his soul power would also transform. Qin Yu was still only able to control 10% of his soul power. It was also 10%. What did this mean? Although Qin Yu was puzzled, he couldn't understand. This was because, according to logic, it was impossible to suddenly increase one's soul control or soul essence. Control ability required repeated attempts to control it. As the number of attempts increased, it would slowly increase. As for soul strength, it was also the same for soul strength. As one's cultivation increased, the transformation of one's soul strength would lead to the gradual improvement of one's soul strength. Just now, Qin Yu's control ability and soul power both improved by a step. For Xiationists, this was simply impossible. All of this was due to a cyan hot stream of air coming from Lu Xing's tear. Lu Xing's tear, what is it? Qin Yu became even more curious about Lu Xing's tear, which had fused with his body. Qin Yu also tried to send out his soul power. The moment he sent it out, Qin Yu was shocked to discover that a middle-stage Yuanying expert was flying over him. Moreover, that middle-stage Yuanying expert was still investigating with his holy sense. When that holy sense swept over Qin Yu, it didn't find anything. And when Qin Yu sent out his holy sense, that guy didn't feel anything either. There were two levels of holy sense. That middle-stage Yuanying Zhuoist's holy sense was a bit weaker than Qin Yu's, so he simply couldn't detect Qin Yu's holy sense. As for the principle, Qin Yu didn't understand it at all. It was really a bit profound. Qin Yu only knew the result. A strong holy sense could detect a weak one, but a weak one simply couldn't detect a strong one. After a while, Qin Yu's whole body directly went out from under the coral like lightning. At the moment, Qin Yu's condition was unprecedentedly good. The effect of using Lu Xing's escape has been completely removed. Moreover, Qin Yu had also learned the soul-searching technique. Xiaohe is in the northwest and very far away. Qin Yu's eyes were closed, but he could clearly sense Xiaohe's existence. Xiaohe and Qin Yu had a special feeling since they were little. They were both able to sense each other's existence. Qin Yu slightly narrowed his eyes and thought about the situation for a while. Judging from the current situation, Sang Imo put a bounty on me because of his son's death. But these underwater Zhuoists seem to be able to easily tell that I'm not a Zhuoist, even if I'm a demonic beast weaker than myself. Qin Yu still remembers how those weak demonic beasts fled as soon as they saw Qin Yu when he and Xiaohe dived into the ocean just now. Those Zhuoists can tell that I'm a Zhuoist. Plus the bounty, it's hard for me to move around in this underwater world. Moreover, I don't know anything about this underwater world of Zhuoists. Now the most important thing is to kill a Zhuoist stealthily and use the soul-searching technique to figure out what's going on in this underwater world of Zhuoists. Qin Yu knows very well that he has to be very, very, very careful in this strange environment. Qin Yu spreads out his holy sense. He is very confident in his holy sense. Even a middle-stage Yuanying expert's holy sense was unable to detect him. So it is easy to imagine how formidable Qin Yu's holy sense is. Turning into a beam of light, Qin Yu flies directly towards the south. However, not long after he flies, Qin Yu notices that there are 8 Zhuoists not far from him. He immediately stops using his stellar energy to restrain his aura, but doesn't try to hide his holy sense at all. After all, these 8 Zhuoists are only at the Jin Dan stage. Big brother Sang Yen, this time our clan leader is going crazy. He's making us search non-stop, and won't even let us rest. A Zhuoist says, These 8 Zooists are none other than members of the Sang clan of the octopuses. They are working together. It's also because these 8 Zooists are lazy. After all, if each Zooist is assigned an area, the search speed will be much faster. F*CK. I don't know where this Xiuxianist has gone. There aren't any Xiozhen Islands within 100,000 li of us. We've been searching for him for so long, and our clan leader has even issued a bounty for him. But there are people searching for him almost every 100 li. We can't even find his shadow. Sang Yin says angrily. Qin Yu, who is using his holy sense to search in the distance, however, changes his expression. He knows that the bounty will attract many Zooists to search for him, but he didn't expect that on average, there will be one Zooist for every 100 li. It should be known that for Zooists, a distance of 100 li is basically nothing. Qin Yu, however, doesn't know that only this area within 100,000 li of him is densely packed with Zooists. After all, most Zooists think that Qin Yu is in this area. As for the areas farther away, there are much fewer Zooists. Most Zooists are just searching and passing. Zooists usually practice very boring. Therefore, they are very enthusiastic about hunting down a certain Xiuxianist. 8 Zooists. Qin Yu is thinking about the possibility of killing these 8 Zooists. After thinking for a while, Qin Yu slowly shakes his head. No, it's impossible to kill them all at once. Besides, Sang Mo told his clansmen to come out, so they must have a way to communicate with each other. If I can't kill them all at once, they will spread the news and so many Zooists will gather here. That'll be terrible. The 8 of you are lucky. Qin Yu doesn't use the stellar energy in his body. Instead, he uses his physical strength alone to shuttle through the water like a sharp arrow. The principle of Qin Yu's body maneuvering skill in the past was to turn the resistance of water into assistance. Given Qin Yu's physical strength and his body maneuvering skill, his speed can be considered very fast. In just a while, he is far away from those 8 Zooists. Just relying on physical strength to shuttle through the water is still slower than using stellar energy to fly. Qin Yu uses his holy sense to discover that there are no Zooists in the vicinity, so he starts to use his stellar energy again, preparing to shuttle through the water extremely fast. However, Qin Yu's face changes color. There are unexpectedly 2 more Zooists up ahead. Moreover, judging from the fact that these 2 Zooists have released their holy senses to search, perhaps they are also chasing after Qin Yu. It's only been 10 odd li, and I've already run into people chasing after me. Qin Yu finally understands how densely packed are the people chasing after him, especially in this area of 100,000 li. Generally, Zooists who have nothing better to do will release their holy senses to search for him. These 2 Zooists look very strong. One of them is bald and is wearing a suit of armor. The other one is even more muscular. His skin is dark cyan, and he is holding a dark stick in his hand. Hey bro, these days are really boring. You haven't been hunting on the surface of the water recently? The bald man wearing the suit of armor asks the cyan giant in a casual manner. The cyan giant says with a mysterious smile, "Of course not. Last time when I was hunting in the coastal area of a neighboring continent, I was very lucky. I happened to run into a fishing boat with 10 odd people and some women on it. I transformed into my true form on the spot and ate half of them at one go. I put the rest into my storage bracelet. Haha, when those people saw my true form, they all shouted that I was a water monster. Then can I also?" The bald man signaled to the green giant with his eyes. The cyan giant says smilingly, "Sure, sure." The cyan giant is already unable to say anything. A fist has directly pierced through his chest where his heart is. His heart has already been smashed. Damn it. There is a hint of ruthlessness in Qin Yu's eyes. Ever since he heard what they said, Qin Yu has decided to kill these 2 men. As soon as the bald man sees Qin Yu, he is greatly alarmed. "Who are you?" The bald man is very astonished. He simply did not sense any aura, but Qin Yu was able to kill his brother with a single punch, at a frighteningly fast speed. Qin Yu stares at the bald man, a faint cold smile appearing on the corners of his mouth. "You'll be the target of my soul searching." Soul searching? What does that mean? The bald man is astonished. To soul search, the target's soul must still be present. If a person's body dies, their soul will quickly float out of the body and enter the cycle of reincarnation. Therefore, there are two ways to soul search. The first is to directly search the soul of a living person. The second is to immediately search the body after killing it, taking advantage of the fact that the soul has not left the body. As for the Cyan giant, his soul has already left the body. Therefore, the target of Qin Yu's soul searching is this bald man wearing battle armor. You are a cultivator. The cultivator who killed Sang Mo's son? The bald man suddenly says. Qin Yu raises his eyebrows. The other party actually recognized him. You actually recognized me. Tell me, how did you recognize me? Qin Yu stares at the bald man and asks. The bald man secretly sighs in relief. The other party did not immediately attack, which gives him a slight chance to escape. As for the battle with Qin Yu, seeing how Qin Yu killed his friend, he has already determined Qin Yu's strength. The bald man smiles flatteringly. This is indeed a very simple matter. You don't have the aura of a demonic beast. Your aura is different from ours. As for cultivators who dare to enter the deep sea, unless they are extremely powerful cultivators, they are just hotheads who don't know anything. But in this area there is no. The bald man is still talking, but he suddenly realizes that Qin Yu, who was originally 10 meters away, suddenly appears in front of him. Ah! The bald man immediately responds and wants to block, but just as he stretches out his fist, "Prng!" With the sound of bones breaking, Qin Yu's fist directly smashes the bald man's fist. The bald man is stunned and directly pierces his chest, shattering his heart. At the same time, Qin Yu's left hand suddenly grabs the bald man's head. Path of Diabolism, Soul Search. After a while, Qin Yu withdraws his palm. At the same time, he also collects the Jin Dan of these two Zuyoists. These two Zuyoists are both middle Jin Dan stage experts. The reason why Qin Yu gave the bald man a chance to talk is that Qin Yu does not want to make any mistakes. If he kills that huge Cyan man, and then immediately kills the bald man, the latter will definitely focus all his attention on defense. If he explodes himself, Qin Yu will have to stay far away from him. The time he stays away will be enough for the other party's soul to drift away. Therefore, Qin Yu lets the other party talk. However, when the other party is halfway through talking, he attacks. Destroy the corpses. Qin Yu directly puts the corpses of the two Zuyoists, their armors and weapons into his space ring. Ordinary people's storage bracelets do not have a lot of space, so they need to deal with some useless things. Qin Yu does not care about that. Putting the corpses into his space ring is definitely a top-notch method of destroying corpses. After absorbing that Zuyoist's memories, Qin Yu completely understands the entire underwater world of Zuyoists. All his doubts disappear in an instant. Qin Yu cannot help giving a faint confident smile. I see. Chapter 106. The sea is boundless and vast. The islands on the sea surface are the territories of Xiamoists and Xiuxianists. But the boundless underwater world is the territory of Zuyoists. Zuyoists are far more powerful than Xiuxianists and Xiamoists. There are 3 superpowers in the underwater world of Zuyoists, just like 3 big empires. The first is the Blue Dragon Temple. The true form of the master of the Blue Dragon Temple is naturally the divine beast Blue Dragon. He is known as the #1 expert in the overseas Xiozhen world. Even super experts among Xiuxianists and Xiamoists cannot compare with the master of the Blue Dragon Temple. The second is the 9 Spirits Hall. There are 9 leaders of the 9 Spirits Hall. Their true forms are purple demon aquatic dragons, a variant of an aquatic dragon. Even though they are not as strong as the master of the Blue Dragon Temple individually, they have 9 brothers and each of them is a super expert. The third is the Blue River Province. The master of the Blue River Province is a divine beast, a variant of the divine beast 3 blue-eyed toad. Its third eye is extremely powerful, and its attacks are very strange. Even though it is a bit weaker than the master of the Blue Dragon Temple, it is because of its strange third eye that even the master of the Blue Dragon Temple is not sure if he can defeat it. These three superpowers are like three super empires in the underwater world of Zeoists. Each of them occupies an area of water, with a circumference of almost 100 million li. Nobody dares to shake the position of the three superpowers, because they are the absolute overlords. There are also small powers under the three superpowers. The Nine Spirits Hall controls an area of water, with a circumference of 90 million li. Within the territory of the Nine Spirits Hall, there are 8 superpowers. These 8 superpowers are completely under the control of the Nine Spirits Hall. The Red Blood Cave is the head of these 8 superpowers. It controls the northernmost 8 million li of sea, within the territory of the Nine Spirits Hall. The structure is very clear, just like on the Qianlong continent. The Blue Dragon Temple, the Nine Spirits Hall, and the Blue River Province are like 3 big empires. As for the Red Blood Cave, it's like a county under the control of the Nine Spirits Hall. And I'm now in the area of the sea under the control of the Red Blood Cave. Qin Yu's mind is very clear. In the past, he knew nothing about the underwater Shuyao world, so naturally he was worried and scared. The only thing a person fears the most is the unknown. After everything is made clear, Qin Yu feels much more relaxed even though he knows that there are countless Zeoists. This underwater world of Zeoists is obviously larger than the Qianlong continent, and has many more experts. They are simply not on the same level. Several tens of Zeoists from the underwater world of Zeoists can easily sweep across the entire Qianlong continent. The mortal continent and the underwater world of Zeoists are basically 2 different levels. Hehe, so this is the reason why people can tell that I'm an outsider. 2 jade cards appeared in Qin Yu's hand. These jade plates are taken from the bodies of the 2 Zeoists he has just killed. The top half of these 2 jade plates has the 2 characters 9 demons, and the bottom half has the 2 characters Red Blood. Both of these characters give off a special aura. In the past, the Grand Majesty of the Nine Spirits Hall ordered that all Zeoists who have reached the Jin Dan stage in the territory under the jurisdiction of the Nine Spirits Hall must receive an identity jade plate. Zeoists of the same power, in the territory of the Nine Spirits Hall, are not allowed to kill each other. Zeoists in the territory of the Nine Spirits Hall have 9 types of identity jade plates in total. 9 demons Red Blood, 9 demons Giant Armor. The territory of the Nine Spirits Hall has 8 powers such as the Red Blood Cave, so naturally it has 8 types of identity jade plates such as 9 demons and Red Blood. As for the last type of identity jade plate, it is 9 demons. This is the symbol of Zeoists who belong directly to the Nine Spirits Hall, and are not under the control of the 8 powers. Zeoists who have 9 demons, identity jade plates are not allowed to kill any Zeoists in the territory of the Nine Spirits Hall. Once they are killed, the guards of the Nine Spirits Hall will enforce the law. Zeoists who have 9 demons Red Blood identity jade plates are not allowed to kill Zeoists who also have 9 demons, Red Blood identity jade plates. However, Zeoists with other identity jade plates can be killed. The order of the Nine Spirits Hall is to let the 8 powers under its jurisdiction fight each other and weaken each other's power. However, the Zeoists under its control are not allowed to be killed by others. Naturally, the number of Zeoists directly under its control is increasing. A faint smile appears on Qin Yu's face. From now on, I'm a member of the Red Blood Cave under the Nine Spirits Hall. Qin Yu drips his blood on one of the jade plates and fuses it with his body. As for the other one, he casually tosses it into his interspatial ring. The Nine Spirits Hall has never worried about other people seizing their identity jade plates. In fact, it is eager for some experts to take these jade plates. Once a person has an identity jade plate, he will be able to sense the information on other people's identity jade plates. If they have the same type of identity jade plate, they will be considered as members of the same family. If they don't have the same type of identity jade plates, they can kill each other. Of course, you can also kill your own family members. However, you have to be confident that the law enforcement team won't know, and that you can resist them. In the past, it was because Qin Yu didn't have an identity jade plate that those Zeoists discovered him right away when he and Xiao He dived into the deep sea. But, even though I have an identity jade plate, I don't have the aura of a Zuyoist on me. Qin Yu slightly frowns. The aura of a Zuyoist is commonly known as demonic aura. In general, it is very easy for Zuyoists to distinguish between each other. This is also the reason why other people immediately determined that Qin Yu is a Zyexionist. Qin Yu has a complicated feeling. Because he has an identity jade plate, other people can sense the aura of the jade plate. If they don't pay careful attention, they won't be able to figure out Qin Yu's identity. However, if they do, Qin Yu's aura will be in danger if they discover that he has no demonic aura. Demonic aura. Qin Yu murmurs in a low voice with a deep frown. However, he is pondering non-stop. Zuyoists use their identity jade plates to distinguish each other's identities and demonic aura. After all, Zuyoists are generally in human form, and their appearances are not very different from those of Zyexsionists and Zymoists. Right, Dark North? A faint smile appears on the corners of Qin Yu's mouth. Dark North is a secret skill of the Devil Path. The difficulty of this technique was several levels higher than that of soul searching. The Devil Path's Dark North is a secret skill of the Devil Path that combines soul energy with the body's elemental energy. Dark North has two functions. One is to restrain one's aura. The other is to speed up one's practice. If one wants to restrain one's aura, one only needs to use a bit of soul energy, and the whole body's aura will be completely devoured. If one wants to speed up one's practice, one needs to use a lot of soul energy. Not only will the whole body's aura be absorbed, even the holy energy of heaven and earth will be absorbed. At this moment, the user of the Dark North is like a black hole in the eyes of outsiders, swallowing all the holy energy in the surroundings. There are two ways to investigate a person with holy sense. The first is to investigate the other party's holy sense. The second is to investigate the aura emitted by the body. Once I use the Dark North, my aura won't spread out. Other people won't be able to sense my aura at all, not even the aura of stellar energy. They will probably think that I'm practicing some special Shuyao method. This is a compromise. Qin Yu is not a Zuyoist, so the natural demonic aura emitted by Zuyoists cannot be formed. It can only absorb all auras. If other people discover that they cannot sense even the slightest bit of Qin Yu's aura, they will generally think that Qin Yu is a mysterious expert. Qin Yu, who is thinking about practicing the Devil Path's Dark North, simply does not notice a small cyan fish not far from him. Qin Yu checks the surroundings with his holy sense. He doesn't care about ordinary fishes and shrimps. Only those who have reached the Jin Dan stage will pay attention to Qin Yu. This small cyan fish is a Xiantian level fish, and is very common in the deep sea. In the Sang clan's palace, Sang Mo is sitting alone in the main hall, drinking wine to drown his sorrows. After spending several days without finding Qin Yu, Sang Mo has now invited 30 experts of the Green-Eyed Fish clan, which can be said to have eyes all over the sea. Senior Sang Mo, that murderer has been found. A man with cyan fish scales on his face walks quickly into the main hall, then bows, and says smilingly to Sang Mo. The wine cup in Sang Mo's hand pauses. You mean the murderer has been found? Sang Mo's eyes brighten, and a killing intent bursts out from them. The man of the Green-Eyed Fish clan says proudly, It's just an area of 100,000 li. My 30 clansmen searched together, and each of them controlled over 1,000 fishes. There are countless fishes at the bottom of the sea. Who would pay attention to an ordinary fish? Haha, quickly tell me, where is he? Sang Mo's entire body is overjoyed. The man of the Green-Eyed Fish clan directly passes a jade slip to Sang Mo. After all, it is difficult to describe clearly in words, but it is very simple to outline clearly with spiritual sense. Sang Mo uses his spiritual sense to scan, and immediately knows where Qin Yu is. Good, after catching the murderer, I will definitely thank you. Sang Mo is extremely excited at the moment. The man of the Green-Eyed Fish clan smiles. Senior Sang Mo, I will go with you. Even if the murderer moves, I can clearly tell you his location. Very good, then come with me. After Sang Mo finishes speaking, he directly turns into a red stream of light and shoots out of the palace, rushing towards the direction of Qin Yu. The man of the Green-Eyed Fish clan also rushes side by side with Sang Mo. In the process of flying, Sang Emo also begins to send a message to his clansmen to surround that area. This time, no matter what, I can't let him escape again. Sang Mo's eyes flashes fiercely, killing intent constantly lingering around his body. Qin Yu sneaks into a mountain rock and begins to try to cultivate the Devil Path secret skill Dark North. Soul searching only uses the power of the soul. It is very simple. But Dark North, it is a fusion of the power of the soul and the body's true elemental force. Qin Yu has the power of the stars. That is to say, he needs to fuse with the power of the stars. From his dantian, he draws out the power of the stars and moves it to his mind. At the same time, it comes into contact with the power of the soul. Fusion. How do I fuse? Qin Yu found that the power of the stars and the power of the soul are two different levels of energy. It is impossible to fuse, because the power of the soul can even pass through the power of the stars. The power of the soul is like nothingness, while the power of the stars is solid. No wonder this secret book says that Dark North is extremely difficult to cultivate. The founder also created it after crossing the tribulation. Qin Yu slightly frowns. The power of the soul and the power of the stars are two different levels. Who knows how the founder fused them? Senior Sang Emo, my children have sent a message. The murderer is inside a rock 300 li southwest of here. He seems to be practicing. The man of the green-eyed fish clan says smilingly to Sang Emo, looking very confident. Sang Mo's eyes glitter. Behind him are more than 20 clansmen. At the same time, there are also other clansmen of the Sang clan in several other directions. 300 li very good. Sang Emo feels that the blood in his entire body is boiling. As soon as he recalls the scene where his son's head was pierced and Jean Dan was taken away, Sang Emo cannot control his anger. Let's go. Sang Emo lifts his red robe and raises his speed to another level, rushing directly towards the place where Qin Yu is at the moment. On one side, the man of the green-eyed fish clan, and more than 20 clansmen also follow Sang Emo towards Qin Yu. 300 li is really very short for Zuyoists. Before long, Sang Emo is only several tens li away from Qin Yu. Inside the rock, Qin Yu, whose holy sense has been on high alert all along, suddenly changes color in his face. He opens his eyes at once. His holy sense has discovered clearly that Sang Emo is rushing over from the northeast with quite a few experts. Luckily, his holy sense is a bit stronger than before, and its range has also increased a lot. Seeing Sang Emo rushing over in such a straight line, and seeing the expression on his face, Qin Yu is 90% sure that Sang Emo knows where he is. Basically having no time to think about how the other party knows where he is, Qin Yu leaves the rock extremely fast. Stepping on his flying sword, he uses the man-weapon unification and rushes south. Sang Emo does not use his true body to chase after him, so naturally his speed is not as fast as Qin Yu's. No good. The murderer seems to have discovered us and is already running south. The man of the green-eyed fish clan immediately becomes very worried. Sang Mo's face changes color. The man of the green-eyed fish clan says again, "The murderer is extremely fast. My children simply can't keep up. Maybe the fish controlled by my other clansmen can discover the murderer. But my other clansmen are still in the Sang clan's palace." Sang Emo did not expect to be discovered by Qin Yu in advance, so he only brought a man of the green-eyed fish clan with him. It's all right. I've arranged my clansmen in other directions. A murderous look appears on Sang Mo's face. At the same time, he lifts his red robe, and his whole body turns into a red giant octopus. With a shake of his 8 tentacles, he chases south like a beam of light. His speed is a bit faster than Qin Yu's man-weapon unification. Qin Yu, who is flying south extremely fast, suddenly stops. There are people. His holy sense has clearly discovered that there are 10-odd octopus clansmen several tens li away. Even though he has only discovered 10-odd so far, who knows if there are even more? Combined with the fact that Sang Emo was rushing directly towards him just now, Qin Yu has a conclusion. Sang Emo knows where I am, and has even formed an encirclement. After Qin Yu stopped for a while, Qin Yu's holy sense discovered that there is a huge red giant octopus coming from several tens of li away. It's Sang Mo. Qin Yu's face suddenly changes color. Chapter 107. Qin Yu was only at the middle stage of the nebula stage, while Sang Mo was at the early stage of the Yuanying stage. Moreover, his body was an octopus with extremely strong attack power. Once Qin Yu encountered Sang Mo, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Therefore, Qin Yu's reaction was west. Qin Yu simply couldn't care about anything else. He immediately changed direction and flew towards the west at an astonishing speed. Qin Yu relied on the fact that his spiritual senses range was larger than that of Sang Mo's by quite a bit. Because of this distance, Qin Yu could discover Sang Mo, while Sang Mo couldn't discover Qin Yu. Meanwhile, Sang Mo was still rushing towards the south. In just a moment, the distance between the two of them was 100 li, as expected. A cold light flashed in Qin Yu's eyes. His spiritual sense clearly discovered that there were also a dozen octopuses waiting in the west. Qin Yu gritted his teeth and used his fastest speed to transform into a streak of light, rushing towards the west without regard for anything else. The west region was also very large. The opponent's dozen octopuses used their spiritual sense to cover a large area. Whoosh! A streak of light shuttled through the area covered by an octopus. The Sang clansman immediately let out a strange growl. Murderer! It's the murderer! The Sang clansman's unique language shocked the surrounding dozen Sang clansmen. The leader of this group immediately took out a transmission talisman. Clan leader, the murderer escaped from the west. The giant octopus moved several hundred li to the south. However, he suddenly sensed a message from the transmission talisman. His expression immediately changed, and he let out an extremely angry growl. At the same time, his figure changed again, and he rushed towards the west. This Sang Mo's body was extremely fast. However, at this moment, Qin Yu changed direction again. Humph, chase me. Slowly run. Qin Yu changed his direction again. He was no longer flying toward the west, but toward the south. This time, no one reported Qin Yu's whereabouts to Sang Mo. Although Sang Mo's speed was fast, he was not going in the same direction. The distance between them was only increasing. He traveled 1,000 miles towards the south at an extremely fast speed. Then, he changed direction again and flew towards the east for another 1,000 miles. However, flying towards the southeast, Sang Mo simply does not know which direction Qin Yu is in. After chasing for half a day without finding any trace of him, he has no choice but to admit that he has failed in this pursuit. He has no choice but to return to his lair in anger and helplessness. In the palace of the Sang tribe, the green-eyed fish clan man smiled and said, Senior Sang Mo, please rest assured. This time you have invited 30 of our clansmen. With our searching methods, the murderer will definitely not be able to escape our pursuit. The green-eyed fish clan man seemed very confident. Sang Mo lifted his red robe and angrily sat on the main seat of the main hall. How could Sang Mo not be angry when he went to catch the person with great fanfare? But the enemy escaped. At this time, another 3 green-eyed fish clan men walked into the main hall from the palace. They also had fish scales on their faces. When the 3 men saw Sang Mo, they bowed respectfully. Then one of them said, Senior Sang Mo, our children have already found traces of the murderer. Speak. Sang Mo was full of energy. His entire aura rose. The man said, Senior, when you were chasing the murderer first flew to the west, and then to the south. Although the process is not clear, he flew to the southeast. Now he is about 7,000 miles to the southeast of the place where you were chasing him. Each of these men of the green-eyed fish clan is controlling no less than 1,000 fish. Every fish has become their eyes. Moreover, they can easily distinguish Qin Yu's identity through his flying speed, and whether or not he has demonic energy. Without demonic qi, his speed was so fast. In this 100,000-mile area, other than Qin Yu, there were probably no other immortal cultivators. Very good. Sang Mo suddenly stood up. Then, he snorted coldly to a member of the Sang clan in the main hall. Sang Lanpu, it's useless to ask you to do something. Give the message to the Green-Eyed Fish clan members. Sang Emo was clearly very dissatisfied with the way his clan members handled things. The Sang Lanpu clan member immediately took out the message and gave it to a Green-Eyed Fish clan man. Sang Emo stared at the Green-Eyed Fish clan man and said coldly, "This time, no matter what, I won't let that bastard escape. Your Green-Eyed Fish clan people are in the palace. 30 brothers will work together. If there is any news, send it to me through the message." Last time, there were no other Green-Eyed Fish clan members to send news. This time Sang Emo learned his lesson. He directly gave the message to one of them and told them to stay in the palace. If anyone had any news, they could send it to him. "Senior Sang Emo, please rest assured. The fish controlled by the 30 of us are almost one every few hundred miles. As long as the murderer moves and is discovered by the fish, he won't be able to escape our control." The Green-Eyed Fish clan man was very confident. Sang Emo nodded with satisfaction. "Senior, this is the area where the murderer is at the moment." He directly handed a jade slip to Sang Emo. Sang Emo scanned it with his spiritual sense and immediately knew where the area was. Sang Mo's face showed a trace of a sinister smile. "This time, no matter what, you can't escape, immortal cultivator bastard." With a roll of his red robe, Sang Mo's whole person flew out of the main hall. Qin Yu lazily nestled next to a reef at the bottom of the water. The clothes on his body had the effect of repelling water. At this moment, Qin Yu's brows were deeply furrowed. Obviously he was thinking, then how did Sang Emo find out where I was hiding? At this moment, Qin Yu still couldn't understand. He had been very careful. According to his thinking, he shouldn't have left any clues. After thinking for a moment, Qin Yu pressed his temple. After leaving the Qianlong continent and coming to the underwater monster beast world, Qin Yu didn't have a moment of quiet rest. He was too tired. Father should be very happy now. Qin Yu couldn't help but have a quiet smile on his face. His father enjoyed a peaceful life in the Qianlong continent, but Qin Yu lived in a life and death situation. Moreover, the enemy could appear at any time. The fish in the sea are really beautiful. Qin Yu waved his hand, and the surrounding hundreds of fish happily swam away. The fish in the sea were the most numerous. Sometimes thousands of fish swam together. Flying among the fish was also a kind of enjoyment. However, Qin Yu simply didn't know that among these hundreds of fish, there was a fish that was slightly different. This was a special secret skill of the Green-Eyed Fish clan, so Qin Yu simply couldn't discover it. After resting for a while, Qin Yu set out again. There were still many Zuyoists in the sea, but most of them were only at the Jindan stage in this area of 100,000, very few early Yuanying stage Zuyoists had already been discovered by Qin Yu's holy sense long before they discovered Qin Yu. Qin Yu dodged all the way. Even though it was thrilling, it wasn't very dangerous. Very good. Let's practice the Northern Darkness technique again here. Qin Yu saw a huge coral mountain. Layer upon layer, Qin Yu directly went through a crack in it. Then his stellar energy vibrated, directly forming a cave. Sitting in this cave, Qin Yu slightly tidied himself up. In terms of attack, he should be pretty good. Not only is he good at close combat, he can also control the flaming sword to attack from a distance. He can both attack from a distance and at close combat. Moreover, he can also use some unique skills of the stellar transformations technique. As for escaping, his body is comparable to a holy weapon, so there is almost no resistance when he flies. Once he unites with his weapon, his speed will indeed be astonishingly fast. Apart from this, he also knows some relatively strange and special skills, Shioma secret skills. Whether I'm escaping or experiencing the world of Zuyoists, I have to learn the Northern Darkness technique first. Qin Yu immediately sits down with legs crossed and starts to practice. Once again, he controls a wisp of stellar energy to go up to his mind. His soul energy is misty and illusory, like an empty existence. But stellar energy is a substantial force. Stellar energy shuttles through his soul energy. Qin Yu simply can't understand how this stellar energy can merge with his soul energy. But there are only 2 words on that Shioma book: try. Try again and again. Even the creator has tried many times, and then inexplicably succeeded. Even the creator himself didn't know the reason behind his success. Trying again and again, Qin Yu is not worried at all. He has already made preparations. At worst, he will do closed-door training here for a month and give it a good try. He estimates that after a month, Sang Emo won't be able to find him, and his pursuit will also slow down. However, when Qin Yu has just started to practice for half a day, Senior Sang Emo, according to my children's information, he should be between 100 li to 200 li to the south of you. As for the detailed area, I don't know. The man of the Green-Eyed Fish clan sends a message. When Qin Yu chose the location for closed-door training, there were no fish controlled by the Green-Eyed Fish clan in the surroundings. But there were fish within 100 li of this location that found Qin Yu flying here and then disappearing. Naturally, they concluded that Qin Yu was here. Very good, very good. Sang Mo's scarlet tongue stretched out, and there was a grin on his face. He did not transform into an octopus, but quietly approached the area where Qin Yu was in his human form. At the same time, his spiritual awareness was also open to the limit, searching carefully. Qin Yu, who was in the middle of cultivation, tried again and again without arrogance and impatience. Every time he reflected on his mistakes, he tried again and again. Sang Emo. Qin Yu's eyes suddenly opened, and his cultivation almost stopped in an instant. Even in the middle of cultivation, Qin Yu's spiritual awareness was always on guard. He suddenly discovered that Sang Emo was already close. And in an instant Sang Emo, who was moving at a very fast speed, had already passed the distance between him and Qin Yu's spiritual awareness. Xiao. Qin Yu did not care about anything else at all. He directly crashed through the coral and rushed out. Then he directly drove the flaming sword, launched the human weapon Unity, and flew to the east at the fastest speed. Sang Mo's spiritual awareness had just discovered Qin Yu's aura, and then Qin Yu ran away again. This time you can't escape. Sang Mo had a sneer on his face, and his body turned into a huge red octopus in an instant. At the same time, Sang Mo also gave orders to the 30 Green-Eyed Fish clan members in the Sang clan's palace through the transmitter. Green-Eyed Fish clan members, you all control carefully for me. You will convey the traces of that immortal cultivator to me at any time. As the spiritual awareness was conveyed, Sang Mo chased after Qin Yu. However, even if Sang Mo's speed was a bit faster than Qin Yu's, Sang Mo found that his spiritual awareness could no longer find Qin Yu's aura. Sang Mo immediately determined that the hateful immortal cultivator had changed his direction again. In which direction did Qin Yu escape? Sang Mo could not determine. Senior Sang Mo, the murderer, is 150 miles south of Senior, and is now flying south at a very fast speed. The message from the Green-Eyed Fish clan man made Sang Mo overjoyed. Sang Mo immediately rushed to the place where Qin Yu was. They were 150 miles apart, but the two were flying in the same direction. It took a while for Sang Mo to gradually get close to Qin Yu. Qin Yu, who had his spiritual awareness spread out, suddenly found Sang Mo dozens of miles behind him. Sang Mo, how did he know the direction I was escaping in? Qin Yu knew that something was wrong. He immediately changed his direction again, and immediately pulled apart the distance again. After a while, Qin Yu found Sang Mo's trace not far behind him. Qin Yu, with anger and confusion, changed his direction again, and immediately pulled apart the distance between him and Sang Mo. However, not long after, Sang Mo approached again. How does this bastard always know the direction I change? Qin Yu's eyes flashed coldly. Obviously he was angry. Sang Mo, who was behind him, was also angry. Immortal cultivator, hateful immortal cultivator. How does he always know my pursuit in advance, and always changes his direction in advance? Could it be that the range of his spiritual awareness is larger than mine? Sang Mo could not accept this result. The person being chased and the person who was chasing were both angry. East. Qin Yu changed his direction again. But this time Qin Yu was not lucky, because there was a fish in the place where he changed his direction, and this fish was a fish controlled by the Green-Eyed Fish clan. Senior Sang Mo, east. He fled to the east. Sang Mo almost did not take a detour this time, and directly flew to the east, and suddenly the distance between him and Qin Yu was close. Qin Yu, who originally thought that Sang Mo had been pulled away again, was so scared that cold sweat came out, and at the same time his anger rose. Even a clay figurine has 3 points of anger. Sang Mo, don't provoke me. Qin Yu began to have killing intent in his heart. Chapter 108. Qin Yu kept changing directions. Whenever Sang Mo got close, Qin Yu would change directions. Sang Mo also relied on the Green-Eyed Fish clan's repeated notifications, and was never too far away from Qin Yu. The two had been chasing each other for half a day. More people, Qin Yu cursed in his heart. At this moment, his spiritual awareness detected the Sang clan members in front of him. Qin Yu immediately changed directions again. Now, not only did he have to escape from Sang Mo's pursuit, he also had to be careful of the surrounding Sang clan members sent by Sang Mo. Ever since Sang Mo was shaken off by Qin Yu again and again, he ordered the Sang clan's clansmen to surround and capture Qin Yu in an area of 10,000 li in radius. Thanks to the encirclement of these Sang clan's clansmen, Qin Yu is obviously in a much more difficult situation. He had clearly just turned to avoid Sang Mo, but suddenly discovered the Sang clan members not far away. Senior Sang Mo, that Qin Yu is about 120 miles south of you. The Green-Eyed Fish clan member sent another message. At this moment, Sang Mo's eyes were slightly red. Clearly, anger was burning in his chest. Even after receiving this message, he was not as excited as before, because he knew that even with the Green-Eyed Fish clan's repeated notifications, it would be very difficult for him to catch the culprit. This immortal cultivator is more slippery than a loach. At this moment, Sang Mo still did not know Qin Yu's name. But how could he not avenge his son's death? Sang Mo chased after him again. After a long time, this time, no matter how much Sang Mo chased, he did not discover Qin Yu. Even the Green-Eyed Fish clan did not discover Qin Yu's aura. Even the Sang clan members did not discover Qin Yu. It was as if Qin Yu had suddenly disappeared. Under the surveillance of a feather every several hundred li, and the scanning of the Sang clan's members, and Sang Mo's holy senses, Qin Yu disappears just like that. Clan leader. The Sang clansmen looked at Sang Mo, not knowing what to do. If they couldn't find him, what could they do? Sang Mo, on the other hand, was very angry. He had used such a formation, and even invited the Green-Eyed Fish clan. He, the Sang clan leader, had personally chased for so long, but he still hadn't caught a small cultivator. How could Sang Mo not be angry? This Xiuxianist, one day I'll skin him alive, throw him into a mystical chi ant nest, and let him be bitten by tens of thousands of ants. Only after he wails in agony for 3 days will he die. Sang Mo's eyes are filled with hatred. His son's death had already made Sang Mo extremely angry. And after chasing after Qin Yu for so long, of course, Sang Mo was even more furious. Clan leader, is this enough to vent your anger? We should cut off his manhood first. Clan leader, do you remember that there is a group of perverts not far from the west of our palace? Let them take turns with this brat for 3 days. A Sang clansman flatteringly offered a punishment method. Sang Mo's eyes immediately brightened. He seemed very satisfied. Another member of the Sang clan hurriedly said, Clansman, I have heard of a kind of punishment called sitting. There is a sharp piece of iron in the shape of a cleaver, and then we let him sit down with his legs open. We sealed his jindan and let him feel the pain in his buttocks. One after another, the Sang clansmen offered one vicious punishment method after another. Zooists have been practicing for a long time. Some Zooists were very bored, so they developed some torturing methods. Sometimes they would catch some mortals and test them on some deserted islands. Sang Mo was very satisfied to hear this. Only in this way could he vent his anger. Very good. But if we can't catch him, everything will be meaningless. As soon as Sang Mo thinks of how difficult Qin Yu is to deal with, his face darkens again. All right, stop the chase for the moment. At the same time, Sang Mo gave an order to the Green-Eyed Fish clan through a transmitter. Green-Eyed Fish clan members, you must pay close attention. Once that Xiuxianist appears, you must tell me immediately. After giving the order, Sang Mo himself takes the lead to leave. He is much faster than ordinary octopuses, so he has no patience to wait for these clansmen to fly slowly. Those Sang clansmen also split up into groups of 3 or 5, and either returned to the Sang clan's palace, or went to other places. An hour after they left, the ground unexpectedly moves in the place where Sang Mo and the others were just now. Then a figure comes out of the ground. It is none other than Yu. The Sang clan. Yu's eyes are full of coldness. An hour ago, Yu, who was chased by Sang Mo to the point that he had nowhere to run, was also enraged by the chase. He directly dived into the ground, and at the same time gathered all of his stellar energy, without using any stellar energy, and restrained all of his aura. He won the bet. Sang Mo really didn't discover Yu. Once a person doesn't use any internal energy, and restrains his aura, other people simply won't be able to discover his aura, unless they discover the opponent's holy sense. But Yu's holy sense is higher than Sang Mo's. Pooh! Yu shoots up into the sky like a sharp arrow. At the moment, Yu is only 4 to 5 kilometers away from the surface of the sea. Yu breaks out of the water in an instant, and goes directly into the sky. Someone's here. Yu immediately discovers that there are Zuyuyoists on the surface of the sea, who seem to be searching for something. Moreover, Yu also discovers that there are familiar figures among those searching Zuyuyoists. They are the Sang clansmen Yu has seen before. Looks like Sang Mo hasn't given up yet. Yu rapidly dives into the water. His heart is filled with fury. Even though he is being chased, Yu has never thought about escaping above the surface of the sea. This is because Yu knows very well that it will be even more dangerous for him above the surface of the sea. Firstly, Zuyuists can also fly. Moreover, an ordinary Zuyuist can only dive 4 to 5 kilometers deep into the sea. However, the range of an ordinary expert's holy sense is over 10 kilometers. With a sweep of the holy sense, not only can it scan the sea, it can also scan the sky. Secondly, the surface of the sea is empty. Once a person appears, he or she will be discovered immediately. At any rate, there are all kinds of corals, reefs, and even underwater mountain ranges at the bottom of the sea as camouflage and so on. Thirdly, Yu is currently in an area of 100,000 li in radius near the sea. This kind of coastal area is completely the world of Zuyuyoists. The nearest Zyuxianists and Xiamoists are more than 100,000 li away from the sea. Some Zuyuyoists may be on some deserted islands near the sea. Fourthly, there is another reason. You can't fly as high as you want in the sky. Yu knows very well that the higher he flies, the more dangerous it is in the sky. After reaching a certain height, Yu can't fly any higher. Moreover, according to his master Lei Wei's description, there are many terrifying dangers high up in the sky. If even Lei Wei calls them terrifying, one can imagine how dangerous it is at an extremely high altitude. You can't fly too high in the sky. Moreover, the sky is empty. Once you are discovered, you won't even have a place to run. What can Yu do? He can only choose to stay at the bottom of the sea. After all, he can fish in troubled waters there. Clan leader said that Zyuxianists might be able to ride a flying sword at any time. Brothers, you must watch carefully. A member of the Sang clan shouts. Another member of the Sang clan says carelessly, "Big brother, don't be so serious." Not only are Sang clan, many Zuyuyoists who covet middle-grade holy weapons are also secretly paying attention. If that Zyuxianist brat is careless, ha ha ha. This member of the Sang clan laughs extremely sinisterly. Yu exerts strength in his hands and swims in the sea like a fish. After being tempered, Yu's body is comparable to a holy weapon. His strength is also terrifyingly great. Even though he is only using his muscles, Yu is still shuttling back and forth like a sharp arrow. Sang Mo, I can't let you chase me all the time. It's time for you to relax. Yu unfolds his holy sense and shakes his arms. His whole body swims extremely fast like a fish. Without using stellar energy, Yu's speed is probably only 10% of his previous speed. However, for Yu, this is already enough. Hey, big brother, where do you think that Zyuxianist is hiding? Forget it. Even the clan leader has gone back. Let's also take a rest. Two members of the Sang clan walk side by side. During this period of time, the Sang clan's members have been worried about Qingyu. Big brother, I didn't expect a good-for-nothing demonic beast to attack us. A member of the Sang clan says cheerfully. He suddenly turns around and makes a chopping motion with one hand. However, what he sees is Qingyu's flaming sword, which pierces his throat directly. Almost at the same time, Qingyu's left hand also pierces the chest of the other member of the Sang clan. A good-for-nothing demonic beast? Qingyu takes 2 Jindan pills and leaves directly. Qingyu is shuttling back and forth like this without using stellar energy. Even though Zuyoists can't sense him, when Qingyu gets close to them to launch a sneak attack, they will sense the fluctuations of the water. Just now, that member of the Sang clan thought it was an ordinary shark attack. After all, he didn't sense any aura of energy. With this attack, Qingyu's counterattack finally begins. Even after being surrounded by so many members of the Sang Mo clan, Qingyu still hasn't been caught. It is really very easy for him to avoid being hunted down. On the first day, Qingyu only kills 2 people. Afterwards, he is discovered by the Green-Eyed Fish clan. However, right after that, Qingyu evades them again. This time, Qingyu is silent for 3 days. During these 3 days, Qingyu has been quietly refining the Jindan pills. If a Zuyoist comes across, Qingyu will stop refining, and the Zuyoists will leave Qingyu to continue refining. After 3 days, the 2 Jindan pills are completely refined by Qingyu. Afterwards, Qingyu sets out again. However, this time, Qingyu is not so lucky. It takes him several days to discover the Sang clan's people. Moreover, there are 3 of them together. This time, Qingyu goes crazy. His stellar force bursts out, and he engages in close combat. 2 middle-stage Jindan Sang clansmen and 1 late-stage Jindan Sang clansman are killed by Qingyu in one go. Afterwards, Qingyu goes silent again. This time, Qingyu stays silent for 10 whole days. 10 days later, Qingyu sets out again. For 3 whole months, Qingyu has killed 16 Sang clan's people. Knowing that their clansmen are dying one by one, these Sang clan's people seem to be terrified. Afterwards, they always gather in large groups, making it difficult for Qingyu to move around. However, Qingyu is very daring. Even when a group of Sang clan's people gathers together, Qingyu still dares to launch a sneak attack. Afterwards, he uses the one with the weapon technique to escape. As his power slowly increases, the speed of Qingyu's one with the weapon also increases. It is even close to the fastest speed of Sang Mo's main body. Sneak attacks, using the one with the weapon technique to escape, while restraining his stellar force, and using his muscle strength to shuttle through the water, making it impossible for the enemy to detect his tracks. Even if the Green-Eyed Fish clan discovers him, they can use their spiritual sense to escape first. Qingyu's eyes had turned red from killing. His eyes had turned red from killing. Sang Mo, you wanted to deal with me first. Therefore, don't blame me for destroying your Sang clan. Sang Mo holds the jade slip in his hand. The jade slip contains Qinyu's spiritual sense message. This is the jade slip that Qinyu left behind after killing a Sang clan's clansman. Sang Mo can clearly feel the killing intent in the words. There is no need to doubt Qinyu's killing intent. In just half a year, 32 clansmen have died. This is the proof. Sang Mo's hands are shaking, the muscles on his face twitching. There are less than 200 Sang clan members who have reached the Jindan stage. In just half a year, 32 of them have died. At this rate, his Sang clan will be finished within 5 years. But Sang Mo's current speed is almost the same as Qinyu's. Qinyu seems to be able to detect his movements one step earlier every time. Sang Mo cannot catch Qinyu at all. After half a year of pursuit, Sang Mo has already admitted that he cannot catch him. Good. Sang Mo says good 3 times in a row. Then, with a red flash in his eyes, Sang Mo takes out a transmission token. After thinking for a moment, he clenches his teeth and directly sends a message with his spiritual sense. Vice Cave Master, increase the reward of the bounty. Not only will you give me a mid-grade spirit weapon, but also, add my Thunder Hammer. Thunder Hammer, a high-grade spirit weapon. In Sang Mo's heart, It is even more important than his son. Making this decision is like digging out a piece of flesh from Sang Mo's heart. A high-grade spirit weapon, even a Yuanying stage expert would covet it. Sang Mo also knows that many Yuanying stage experts covet this high-grade spirit weapon, Thunderhammer. Among them is the Red Blood Cave's vice cave master, Chago. If you want to destroy my clan, then let's see if you can survive against those Yuanying stage experts. Sang Mo says slowly in a low voice, but his low and hoarse voice resounds through the hall, making one's hair stand on end. Chapter 109. Blood-Red Ridge, inside the Blood-Red Cave. Hey, Sang Mo really can't sit still. He's even willing to take out his treasured thunder hammer. Chago, who was wearing a red robe, had a smile on his face. Obviously, he was in a very good mood. Chago had been waiting for this day. The nearby silver armor protector, who conveyed the message, slightly bowed and said, Vice Cave Master, this thunder hammer is a high-grade spiritual weapon. Moreover, the target is only a Xiaxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage. It's really too easy. The Blood-Red Ridge also has a lot of Yuanying stage experts. It's estimated that most of the Yuanying stage experts will set out. You're wrong. This mission is not simple. Chago stood up, slightly raised his chin, and proudly said with a smile. Let me ask you, the target is only a Xiaxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage. Why hasn't Sang Mo been caught for such a long time? The silver armor protector was also puzzled. That's right. A Xiaxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage. What is he relying on? Chago obviously had a card up his sleeve, and continued. Let me remind you again. Sang Mo also invited 30 members of the Green-Eyed Fish clan. Green-Eyed Fish clan? The silver armor protector was slightly startled. The northernmost waters of 100,000 li were really too far away from the Blood-Red Ridge. It was millions of li away. Sang Mo's method of hunting down Qin Yu was unknown to most people. Chago also relied on the information from the Red Blood Cave to find out. The Green-Eyed Fish clan's secret technique of controlling fish is very powerful. Xiaxianists don't have any demon aura, so it's certainly easy to find out. If it's found out, coupled with Sang Mo's strength, it should be very easy to catch that Xiaxianist. The silver armor protector inferred. But when he thought about how Sang Mo hadn't been able to catch the immortal cultivator after such a long time, the silver armor protector couldn't help but be puzzled. Why can't we catch him? Could it be that this cultivator has some kind of secret technique? The silver armor protector muttered to himself. He really couldn't figure it out. Cha Gu, however, looks at the silver armor protector and says with a confident smile. That's right. Why? In my opinion, there are only two answers. Firstly, that immortal cultivator had a secret technique to hide his aura, making it impossible for Sang Mo to track him down. Secondly, that immortal cultivator's flying sword was very fast, so fast that even Sang Mo couldn't catch up. The silver armor protector nodded thoughtfully, hiding his aura in front of Sang Mo. I reckon that a Xiaxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage would have a hard time doing so. The silver armor protector thought for a moment and said. Chago nodded. Yes, so it's very likely that this Xiaxianist's speed was too fast, making it impossible for Sang Mo to catch up. And according to what I know, Sang Mo has chased that Xiaxianist many times. Even when they were dozens of miles apart, the Xiaxianist still managed to escape. The silver armor protector said in surprise. What a fast speed. Vice Cave Master, Sang Mo's true form is an octopus. When he fully unleashes his speed, even I can't catch up. How could a Xiaxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage shake off Sang Mo? The smile on Chago's face brightened, and his lips softly spat out two words. Flying sword. The silver armor protector stared blankly, but after a moment his eyes blazed. His cultivation level wasn't high, but his art of sword flight was fast. It was very likely that the art of sword flight was high or low in quality. Of course, it could also be due to a special art of sword flight. But in his heart, Chago believed that the Xiaxianist's art of sword flight was high in quality. According to what I know, This Zyuxianist's art of sword flight is at least a high-grade holy weapon. Chago actually wanted to say supreme-grade holy weapon. After all, he knew how freakish Sang Mo's speed was. But how could a Zyuxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage possess a supreme-grade holy weapon? After all, even for a Dongshu stage expert, possessing a supreme-grade holy weapon was an extremely extravagant thing. In the overseas Zyuxianist world, there probably wasn't a single sect that would be willing to give a supreme-grade holy weapon to a Zyuxianist who hasn't even reached the Yuanying stage. Even if it was a high-grade holy weapon, it would still be hard to believe. Perhaps that Zyuxianist had some sort of fortuitous encounter and accidentally obtained a high-grade holy weapon, Chago thought to himself. Suddenly, clap, clap, clap. The sound of hands clapping could be heard from behind. A man who looked extremely similar to Chago walked out. Similarly, just by looking at this man's face, one would think of a sinister snake. This man was the other vice master of the cave, Chap. Third brother, what you said was very interesting. Do you mind if I join you in capturing that Zyuxianist? Chap said with a beaming smile. Chago's face changed slightly, but he was cursing in his heart. Motherf asterisk cur Chap, even you have a high-grade holy weapon. I waited for the stars and the moon for the thunder hammer to appear. Just now, I received news that the Zyuxianist has at least one high-grade holy weapon. Double happiness, but at this time you want to steal it from me? And you call yourself my brother? Chago was very angry in his heart. Although he tried to control himself, his face was still very unsightly. Second brother, it seems that big brother gave you the high-grade holy weapon he got last time. I didn't get anything, Chago said indignantly. He didn't say anything else, and only told him what had happened that time. Chap naturally understood when he heard this. Obviously, his third brother thought that he had come to steal the holy weapon from him. He immediately laughed and said, "Third brother, you are too stingy. You should know what kind of person I am. I already have a high-grade holy weapon. How could I covet other things? I just felt bored in the cave and wanted to go out with you for a walk." Really? Chago didn't believe him. Chap suddenly stared and said, "Third brother, I swear to the heavens that if I coveted that holy weapon, a bolt of heavenly lightning would strike me to death. Motherf asterisk cur, we are all brothers. Do you think I am the kind of person who covets his own brother's treasure?" Chago thought for a moment and believed him. He was very clear about his second brother's character. Just now he was just worried and confused. He immediately laughed and said, "Second brother, don't be angry. Okay, let's go now." Chap laughed and said, "That's right. Okay, I'll send a message to Sang Mo and ask his 30 green-eyed fish clan members to help keep an eye on them. If anything happens, they will inform us." "Wonderful. Let's go now." Chago also laughed. Then, the two vice masters of the Red Blood Cave left the Red Blood Cave together. The true form of the brothers Chago and Chap was Blood Red Aquatic Python, which belonged to the top level among pythons. In terms of strength, even Chago, who was also in the early stage of Yuanying, was stronger than Sang Mo. Not to mention Chap, who was in the middle stage of Yuanying. A green underwater mountain range stretched for thousands of li. In a cave halfway up one of the mountain peaks, there was a person sitting cross-legged in cultivation. Illusory clouds and mist constantly revolved around his body. At the same time, there were 3 Jin Dan floating around his body. After a long time, the illusory clouds and mist completely converged and merged into the figure's body. At this moment, the figure's appearance became clear. It was Qinyu. Compared to half a year ago, Qinyu now had a hint of coldness between his eyebrows. Qinyu's eyes suddenly opened, shooting out a cold and clear gaze. "After refining so many Jin Dan, I still haven't reached the late stage of Nebula Realm." Qinyu's face had a hint of helplessness. When refining the Jin Dan, most of the impurities were burned away by the Star True Fire. In the end, only about 10% of the essence was absorbed. Although Qinyu had killed 32 members of the Sang clan in this half a year, most of them were in the early stage of Jin Dan. A few were in the middle stage of Jin Dan, and only 3 were in the late stage of Jin Dan. According to Qinyu's estimation, he would need to refine 10 Jin Dan in the late stage of Jin Dan to reach the late stage of Nebula Realm. In half a year, he had refined 32 Jin Dan, but the total amount was actually less than 10 Jin Dan in the late stage of Jin Dan. However, the difference wasn't too big. In addition to Qin Yu's daily cultivation, Qin Yu felt that the day he reached the late stage of Nebula Realm was coming soon. Right now, I'm almost at the peak of the middle stage of Nebula Realm. In terms of speed, I'm a bit faster than Sang Mo. Qin Yu's face had a hint of a smile. In this half a year, Qin Yu didn't always hide in the northernmost region of 100,000 li. Qin Yu knew very well that that region had the most people searching for him. Therefore, even if Qin Yu wanted to escape, he would always rush towards the south, either to the west, east, or south, but Qin Yu never turned back towards the north. In half a year, whether Qin Yu was cultivating, hunting, or rushing towards the south, he had actually advanced more than 1,000,000 li. When Qin Yu killed those members of the Sang clan, he had also used the soul-searching technique. Qin Yu finally understood why he was always discovered. Green-eyed fish clan members. Qin Yu's heart was full of helplessness. The fish controlled by the green-eyed fish clan members were no different from ordinary fish. At least, Qin Yu couldn't find the difference. Moreover, in the boundless sea, there were a lot of fish. Qin Yu really couldn't avoid those fish that were spying on him. Therefore, Qin Yu could only try his best to avoid the fish, but he could still be discovered. Only when he paid attention to the fish, Qin Yu was discovered a lot less. Xiao He is actually faster than me. He's still in the southwest direction. Qin Yu closed his eyes. His heart could sense Xiao He's general direction. Some time ago, Qin Yu had felt that Xiao He wasn't too far away from him, but Xiao He seemed to be pursued and was constantly rushing towards the south. At that time Qin Yu was very worried because Xiao He was running extremely fast instead of reuniting with him, so he must have run into some kind of danger. At that time Qin Yu risked his life to chase after Xiao He to the south. However, the more he chased after Xiao He, the greater the distance between him and Xiao He became. At that time, Qin Yu judged that Xiao He was too fast, much faster than when he used the passing lightning 9 flashes. It was even possible that he was twice as fast. Qin Yu couldn't catch up. In the end, he could only give up helplessly. Xiao He was so fast. Qin Yu also guessed why Xiao He was so fast. He once thought that Xiao He had swallowed many demonic beasts to increase his power greatly. He also thought that Xiao He might have used some special running skill. But Qin Yu never thought that Xiao He would use a forbidden art to completely change himself. To some extent, Xiao He has really been reborn and is completely different from the past. However, since it was a forbidden technique, it wasn't perfect either. I've been separated from Xiao He for half a year now. Qin Yu gives a faint smile, then turns into a beam of light and goes straight out of the cave, then rushes towards the southwest. Qin Yu usually rushes in the direction of Xiao He, unless he encounters some Zuyoists. Oh, Xiao He is also flying towards me. Qin Yu's face immediately brightens. He also rushes in the direction of Xiao He at once. But traveling is secondary. On the way, Qin Yu won't show any mercy if he encounters some ignorant Sang clansmen who still want to hunt him down. He either rushes on the way or cultivates. 3 months have passed. These 3 months have been very strange. The Sang clansmen seem to have stopped hunting him down. Qin Yu hasn't seen any Sang clansmen at all. Naturally, he rushes on the way much faster. In just 3 months, he has covered about the same distance as in the past half a year. Qin Yu has already flown over 1,000,000 li. After flying so far, Qin Yu sighs with emotion. Xiao He is flying towards him. A man and an eagle have been flying for such a long time, but they still haven't met up. It is easy to imagine how far Xiao He has flown before. Qin Yu is now about 3,000,000 li away from the Qianlong continent. In these 3 months, Xiao He has definitely flown as far as Qin Yu. In other words, in the first half year, Xiao He has flown at least 4 to 5,000,000 li or even longer. Even though Xiao He hasn't been hunted down as much as Qin Yu, Xiao He has flown so far in just half a year. From this, one can imagine how terrifyingly fast Xiao He is. Standing on his flying sword, Qin Yu rushes to the bottom of the sea. His heart is filled with joy. He has a feeling that Xiao He is now only several tens of thousands li away from him, and that the two brothers will be able to meet up in less than a day. This feeling is very wonderful, but Qin Yu believes it very much. Xiao He, I'm coming. Like a beam of light, he streaks across the endless sea. Qin Yu's speed has completely reached the limit. Shagon and Chap are shuttling back and forth on their flying swords among the shoals of fish and corals at the bottom of the sea. In the last 3 months, the two brothers have been very comfortable. They have been hurrying eastwards while eating and drinking at some Zuyuoists' residences. Second brother, those members of the green-eyed fish clan are really useless. Shagon says hatefully. The green-eyed fish clan's efficiency in inquiring about Qin Yu is now much lower. Of course, this is because Qin Yu knows that they are shoals of fish when he uses soul-searching and often avoids them. Now the green-eyed fish clan's members only get a message every 1 or 2 days. They just got the message the day before yesterday. According to reason, Qin Yu should be only 100,000 li away from the two brothers. Chap says with a smile, "Don't worry. According to the message the day before yesterday, and considering that Xiuxianist's speed, I reckon that Xiuxianist is very close to us. We might encounter him at any time in the next 2 days. You have to be careful with your holy sense. Don't worry, I definitely won't let him go." There is a faint evil smile on the corners of Shagon's mouth. Chago has been waiting for a high-grade holy weapon for a long time. Suddenly Chap's eyes brighten, and he says, "Ha, a late Jean Dan Black Eagle. A bird has actually reached the bottom of the sea. It's really rare. Third brother, you stay here first. I haven't tasted a bird for a long time." After saying, Chap turns into a beam of light and shoots towards the north. Second brother, wait for me. I'll also have a taste. Shagon laughs out loud, then also turns into a beam of light and chases after Chap. Chapter 110. Big Brother. Xiao He shuttles extremely fast like a black beam of light. His eagle eyes glitter with excitement. He can feel that Qin Yu is very close to him. It won't be long before they can meet. After all, they have been separated for a very long time. On the Qianlong continent, Qin Yu and Xiao He have never been separated for such a long time. Now that they are about to meet again, of course they are very excited. No good, there are some people. Xiao He's holy sense immediately detects two Zuyuoists rushing towards him extremely fast. Just by sensing them with his holy sense, Xiao He is certain that these two Zuyuoists are absolute experts. Unlike Qin Yu, who has been nourished by Lu Xing's tears, Xiao He's holy sense is not very formidable. That chap is even at the middle stage of yuanying, so Xiao He's holy sense is naturally inferior to theirs. In an instant, two silhouettes appear in front of Xiao He. They are none other than the two vice masters of the Red Blood Cave, Chago and Chap. Ha, it's really a bird. A bird running to the bottom of the sea is really courting death. Chago says in a strange tone. Faint gloomy rays of light flash through his eyes from time to time. His blood-red robe gives off a gloomy and cold aura. Looking at Xiao He, Chap directly reaches out his hand to grab Xiao He. Xiao He stares at these two Zuyuoists. He suddenly flaps his wings. Because he is extremely fast, he directly slaps Chap's hand like a black blur. Chap's hand is unexpectedly slapped and blood seeps out from his watch. You actually dared to injure me. Chap's eyes suddenly shine brightly. Obviously he is extremely furious. In Chap's eyes, a late Jean Dan bird is simply a piece of cake. After all, the two of them are simply not on the same level. Haha. Second brother, you were actually injured by a bird that hasn't even reached the yuanying realm. It's really too funny. Chago was gloating at the side, stroking his stomach and laughing loudly. Chap naturally understood that Chago was doing this on purpose. Puny bird, you dare to injure me? Don't blame me for being merciless, Chap said coldly. Then, his figure turned into a blur as he attacked Xiao He. After all, Chap was a mid-stage yuanying expert. Even if he didn't transform into his true form, he was still much faster than Sang Mo. Unfortunately, Xiao He was no longer the Xiao He of half a year ago. After devouring many demonic beasts, Xiaohei broke through to the late Jin Dan stage from the middle Jin Dan stage. Thanks to the modification of the forbidden technique, Xiaohei's speed is more than twice as fast as it was half a year ago. Now, even Qingyu is far inferior to Xiaohei. A black ray of light flashed extremely fast. What a fast speed! How can that bird be so fast at the bottom of the sea? Chago, who is watching the fight on one side, couldn't help but become astonished. He suddenly discovers that Xiaohei's speed is even faster than Chap's. Following the extremely fast exchange of blows, Chap and Xiaohei instantly separate. Chap looks coldly at Xiaohei. No wonder a late Jin Dan bird dares to run amok at the bottom of the sea. It turns out it has some special skills. You're really fast. Perhaps no Zuyuoists of the same level can be faster than you. While saying so, Chap's left hand is actually dripping with blood. I have something important to do. Don't get in my way. Xiaohei says coldly through his holy sense. Xiaohei has also discovered that his opponent is very powerful. Moreover, his opponent has not revealed his true body, so Xiaohei does not want to attack him forcefully. Wow, second brother. You were actually injured by a late Jin Dan bird. Chago's eyes brighten. He adds fuel to the fire by saying, if you can't beat him, you'd better not fight. Otherwise, it would be bad if you were killed by this bird. How about, I help you, second brother? Chap's face turns cold. He shouts angrily. No need. You just watch on one side. Oh my, then I'll watch second brother's performance. Chago watches on one side and says no more. He also knows when to stop. After all, if he says too much, his second brother will go crazy. That will be a very frightening thing. Chap stretches out his hands. Two daggers suddenly appear in his hands. Both daggers have a green light on their edges. Obviously they are highly poisonous. I hate people who are arrogant the most. Especially, arrogant people who are not strong enough. Chap says coldly. However, Xiaohei simply does not say anything else. His pair of eagle eyes stare directly at Chap, as if he wants to see through Chap's mind. Chap is very unhappy to be stared at by Xiaohei. Growl. A deep growl comes out of Chap's mouth. On one side, Chago's face changes color. He thinks to himself, this is bad. Second brother has really gone crazy. Is this bird really worth him going crazy over? Chago immediately retreats several li away. Holding a dagger in each hand, Chap's speed reaches the limit. Transforming into a ray of light, he attacks Xiaohei. Pa! Pa! Xiaohei's eyes brighten. Suddenly, he sends out two blood-red lightning bolts. Yes, they are blood-red in color. It looks like a blood-red flame in the shape of a lightning strike. This is also the change that occurred after Xiaohei used his forbidden technique. No matter how fast Chap is, he can't keep up with the speed of the lightning. Being hit by the lightning, he can't help but feel his body go numb. At the same time, Chago discovers that a strange energy has appeared. It seems to have the ability to devour and corrode. What is this? Chap is shocked. He immediately stimulates the energy in his body to resist. That strange energy is very corrosive. In an instant, it leaves a scar on Chap's body. Fortunately, Chap is fast enough to use the demonic elemental energy in his body to break through Xiaohei's energy. Chap can no longer be careless. He gathers the demonic elemental energy in his body to protect himself, ready to be attacked by Xiaohei at any time. Xiaohei flaps his wings, sending out blood-red lightning bolts. Compared to the previous lightning bolts, the lightning bolts have the same lightning attribute attack power. At the same time, they also have the effect of devouring and corroding. Dozens of lightning bolts strike down, making Chap flustered. Roar! Chap opens his mouth and roars. Then, Chap's mouth unexpectedly begins to enlarge, turning into the mouth of a huge python. As for Chappa himself, he has turned into a terrifyingly huge blood-red boa. The blood-red aquatic python is nearly 100 meters long. Its body is twice as thick as a bucket. With a swing of its tail, the 100-meter-long python body moves. In an instant, the blood-red aquatic python's attack covers an area of several hundred meters. The blood-red aquatic python's speed is frightening. The several hundred meters are all red after images. Bang! Even though Xiaohei's speed is astonishing, This middle Yuanying stage Chapo's speed has become even more terrifying after transforming into his true form. A red afterimage flashes by and Xiaohei is sent flying. Just now, Xiaohei's body was severely whipped by the python's tail. I like to devour powerful demonic beasts the most. Chap's voice rises in Xiaohei's mind through holy sense communication. Chap's huge blood-red aquatic python opens its terrifying mouth and rushes towards Xiaohei at an extremely fast speed like a beam of light. Xiaohei has excellent eagle eyes. Although the blood-red aquatic python is very fast, Xiaohei can still clearly see its every move, even its tongue. Screech! Xiaohei's eagle crown flickers with brilliance. A shrill eagle cry is heard. The sound waves cause the entire seabed to shake violently. At the same time, the sound waves spread in all directions, forming strong undercurrents. At the same time, the moonlight in the sky directly shines into the sea. What's going on? Chap is startled. The moonlight completely shines on Xiaohei's body and spreads all over Xiaohei's body. Completely shrouded in moonlight, Xiaohei emits a terrifying aura. Chap is also shocked. He can clearly feel that terrifying aura. Not good. Xiaohei is using that unique skill. Could it be that he's in danger? Hearing that shrill eagle cry, Qingyu knows that the situation is bad. Xiaohei used the same move against Xiang Yang last time. Qingyu immediately speeds up. Unfortunately, Qingyu's speed has already reached the limit. Even if he goes all out now, he can only increase his speed slightly. Chap has a bad feeling. All of a sudden, he lashes out with his python body. His python body indeed hits Xiaohei's body. However, at this moment, Xiaohei's body seems to be surrounded by a layer of air. Chap's attack is completely neutralized. Xiaohei unfolds his wings and flaps them in a very relaxed manner. The brilliance immediately gathers towards the edges of his wings, then turns into two pale crescent-shaped brilliances and shoots towards Chap. Chap simply doesn't have time to dodge. The two crescent-shaped brilliances shoot towards Chap's body at an extremely fast speed. Chi-chi. A strong corrosive force directly corrodes Chap's scales. Chap lets out a shrill cry. At the same time, surging streams of demonic elemental energy run through Chap's body. In just a short while the two crescent-shaped brilliances disappear. Chap's true body is a blood-red aquatic python, which is 100 m long. There are two sections of it that are 2 to 3 m long. Most of the scales on these sections have been corroded, and even the flesh inside has been exposed. However, these are only flesh wounds. Roar! The blood-red aquatic python lets out a crazy roar. Soon after, the entire blood-red aquatic python turns into a red zigzagging lightning bolt and continuously whips towards Xiaohei. Xiaohei also turns into a black blur and keeps dodging. The fight between the eagle and the python is very fierce. Not good. This python's demonic elemental energy is really terrifyingly strong. Xiaohei has a bad feeling. The demonic elemental energy of a middle stage Yuanying is several times stronger than his. Moreover, blood-red aquatic pythons are also extremely terrifying pythons. In just a short while, the blood-red aquatic python's scales have reappeared on its wounds. However, these scales are very weak. It's normal for a snake to shed its skin. After reaching the middle stage Yuanying, it's not difficult for a blood-red aquatic python to regenerate its scales. It's just that its defense isn't as strong as before. Go to hell! Chap's voice suddenly resounds in Xiaohei's mind. The blood-red aquatic python shoots a cyan brilliance towards Xiaohei from its mouth. Xiaohei, who has rich battle experience, has long been vigilant. With a sweep of his holy sense, he knows that the cyan brilliance is a thin flying sword. Xiaohei also opens his mouth and shoots out a thunderbolt. Bang! The thunderbolt and the cyan brilliance collide. Xiaohei suddenly utters a cry of pain. Blood spurts out from his throat. That thunderbolt is the high-grade holy weapon Sharp All forged by Xiaohei. Although Chap's weapon is also a high-grade holy weapon, Chap's demonic elemental energy is several times stronger than Xiaohei's. Xiaohei was seriously injured in a battle of strength. A high-grade holy weapon. Chap becomes excited. Xiaohei, however, flaps his wings and turns into a thin beam of black light. He splits the water and rushes away at an extremely fast speed. Don't even think about running away. Chap's huge blood-red aquatic python shuttles back and forth in the water like a red lightning bolt. The blood-red aquatic python and the eagle, one chasing the other, disappear in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Xiaohei is running towards the south. Xiaohei knows Qin Yu's power. Even he, who has reached the late stage of Jin Dan and used a forbidden technique, was no match for Chap. Qin Yu is just courting death. Xiaohei naturally doesn't run in the direction of Qin Yu. A beam of light chases after him then stops. It is none other than Chago. Chago looks in the direction where Chap disappeared and snorts coldly. He feels very helpless in his heart. His speed is much slower than Chap's. He has only chased for several tens of li when Chap and Xiaohei disappear from the range of his holy sense. Xiaohei, please be safe. Qin Yu is very anxious in his heart. He chases after Xiaohei at an extremely fast speed. Breaking through the water and waves, his speed has reached the extreme. After a while, Qin Yu feels a chaotic aura. Qin Yu immediately stops. Looking at the blood floating in the sea, Qin Yu can clearly sense Xiaohei's aura. This is the battlefield where Xiaohei and Chap fought. The blood here is from both Xiaohei and Chap. Xiaohei fought here and was seriously injured. Qin Yu immediately deduces. Sensing that Xiaohei is moving towards the south at a fast speed, it is obvious that Xiaohei is still being chased by someone at this moment. In order not to implicate him, Xiaohei is fleeing towards the south. Haha. I didn't expect my luck to change while my second brother is chasing the black eagle. Dear cultivator, I have been looking for you for a long time. Along with the laughter, a thin man in a red robe appeared not far from Qin Yu. That man's eyes flashed with a blazing light. Qin Yu's face changed. Because he found Xiaohei's blood, Qin Yu's heart trembled for a moment. He was worried about Xiaohei, so he did not pay attention to the surroundings. He did not expect that in such a short time, Chago, who did not catch up with his second brother, found Qin Yu. This Chago found that Qin Yu does not have any demonic aura. Coupled with the green-eyed fish clan's notice, the cultivator is in this area. Combining the two, he naturally deduces early Yuanying, and his demonic aura seems to be stronger than Sangmo. Qin Yu suddenly judged. I am only at the nebula middle stage. Now I can't even deal with Sangmo. This person in front of me seems to be no less than Sangmo. Qin Yu made a decision in his mind. Who are you? Qin Yu said coldly. I am. Chago said proudly. But as soon as he said I am, Qin Yu immediately stepped on his flying sword and used man-weapon unification to flee to the west. Almost in an instant, he was already several thousand meters away. Chago was furious. You dared to play with me. Chago immediately steps on his flying sword and chases after him. Blood-red aquatic pythons are exceptionally gifted and are much more powerful than octopuses. There is a clan of octopuses, but only a few blood-red aquatic pythons can be found in this clan. So fast. Qin Yu was shocked to find that Chago was actually able to keep up with him by stepping on his flying sword. After chasing for a while, Chago found that he was unable to close the distance between them. He unexpectedly let out a roar and transformed into a 70 to 80 m long blood-red aquatic python, scuttling after them at an extremely fast speed. This aquatic python's speed in the sea is simply frightening. The distance between Qin Yu and the blood-red aquatic python immediately shrunk extremely fast. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.